You're awake? The soft rustle of sheets pulled Cassandra Thorne's attention from her book. Her eyes flicked toward the bed, her voice a low murmur. Liam grunted an instinctive yeah. The anesthetic's hangover was a heavy blanket, and it took every ounce of his strength just to push himself into a sitting position. Seeing him sway, Cassandra closed her book, rose, and walked over. Are you hungry? Can I get you something to eat? She asked softly. Liam lifted his head, his gaze meeting hers. He saw nothing in her eyes. No ripples, no waves, just the stillness of a dead sea. Kidnapping him again was definitely her style, but Liam couldn't understand why she was so unervingly calm. If she didn't love him anymore, she could have just left him for dead. There was no need to go to all this trouble. But if she did still love him, how could she be this composed? It didn't add up. The logic was broken. Seeing him silent, Cassandra took the initiative, as if afraid of triggering any resistance. I was the one who ordered Evelyn to bring you here, she explained. Do you remember me? The hope in her voice grew with every word. And just like that, Liam understood. She must have already met with Sylvia Shaw and bought the story about his amnesia. Fine. If amnesia was the excuse that got Sylvia to back off, then it would work on Cassandra, too. This whole twisted affair between them needed a final answer, one way or another. Meeting her expectant gaze, Liam slowly, deliberately, shook his head. Just as he'd predicted, the light in Cassandra's eyes dimmed, replaced by a flicker of loss. Good, he thought. Let him like this. The past was smoke anyway. He was doing just fine on his own. His heart heavy, Liam looked away, lowering his head as he began to shift his body toward the edge of the bed. But just as he was about to stand, Cassandra's hand shot out, grabbing his arm. It's okay, she said, her voice surprisingly gentle. It's fine if you don't remember. We can start over. Liam froze, his head snapping up to stare at her in shock. His wide-eyed disbelief, however, was misinterpreted by Cassandra as mere confusion. A small, sad smile touched her lips as she tightened her grip on his arm. My name is Cassandra Thorne, she said, her voice a warm, persuasive hum. I'm your girlfriend. Actually, we were already married before you lost your memory. Liam's brain short-circuited. Question mark. His eyes went wide with incredulity. On pure instinct, he reached out and pressed the back of his hand against her forehead. The contact, the rough texture of his skin against hers, sent a tremor through Cassandra. Her eyes instantly reddened, and she had to bite her lip hard, letting the pain anchor her and keep the tears from falling. Liam touched her forehead, then his own. You're not running a fever, he muttered, genuinely baffled. That single, bewildered gesture was more telling than any denial. Cassandra was now certain. He really had lost his memory. A triumphant smile spread across her face as she leaned in closer. Of course you don't remember. You have amnesia, she purred. Our story is a long one, but that's all in the past. For now, all you need to know is that I'm your wife. Wife. The word sent a wave of goosebumps across Liam's skin. Wait a second. What step had he missed? When the hell did he marry Cassandra Thorne? He swallowed hard. We were married before, he asked, his voice raspy from dehydration. That hoarseness, however, only added a magnetic, gravelly texture to his tone. Cassandra's heart hammered against her ribs, so fast she felt breathless. Yes, she nodded eagerly, her eyes wide and sincere. We went through the whole ceremony. My father placed my hand in yours. So many people came to our wedding. As she painted the picture with such vivid detail, the scene began to play out in Liam's mind, so lifelike he almost felt like he'd experienced it. A sliver of self-doubt crept in. Was it possible? Had he actually lost his memory? Were he and Cassandra really, truly married? Seeing his silence, Cassandra pressed her advantage, shifting into a tone of apology. Having Evelyn bring you here like that. I know it was wrong. I was just so desperate to see you. I'm sorry. But don't worry. I'll have someone bring all your things from your apartment. You can live here from now on. I won't interfere with your freedom, as long as you come home to me. She said a lot, but Liam latched on to one phrase. Come home. She was saying, this was his home, right? If they were married, then wherever she was, that was his home. The anesthetic was still fogging his brain, making clear judgment impossible. Seeing his eyelids flutter, Cassandra gently guided him back down onto the bed. You should rest. We can talk about everything else tomorrow. Like she was soothing a child, she lightly patted his hip a few times. Liam's mind was a swirling mess. As consciousness faded, he drifted back into a deep, drug-induced sleep. Once she was sure he was out, Cassandra let out a long, shaky breath. She shot up from the bed, hurried out of the room, and the moment the door clicked shut, she clapped a hand over her mouth. The tears of raw, unbridled excitement she'd been holding back finally broke free streaming down her face. Evelyn, who had been waiting patiently in the hall, walked over and gently patted her shoulder. It had been so long since she had seen her miss cry. A good cry was what she needed. It would wash away the pain. She said nothing, just offered silent comfort. After a long while, Cassandra's sobs subsided. She looked up, her eyes red-rimmed. Evelyn, my performance. Were there any flaws? None at all, miss. You were brilliant. Mister. Lynn is still groggy from the anesthetic. There's no way he could tell. Cassandra took a deep, steadying breath, the tension that had gripped her for weeks finally releasing its hold. Good. That's good. It's been so long, I was afraid I'd get too excited and say the wrong thing. You won't. He has amnesia. He won't know the difference. Evelyn reassured her, though a hint of confusion entered her voice. Miss, there's one thing I've been wanting to ask you. Go on. Why aren't you sad that, mister? Lynn has lost his memory. Seeing the caution in Evelyn's eyes, Cassandra's mind flashed back to Liam's docile behavior just moments before. He was as obedient as a puppy, settling down the moment she soothed him. Isn't it better this way? A smile she couldn't suppress bloomed on her face. After the way I treated him before, if he remembered, he would fight me at every turn. But now, he's so pliant. He won't reject my affections anymore. Evelyn had considered every possibility except for that one, that her miss would see Liam's amnesia as a gift. She remembered the first time she'd laid eyes on him, trapped in Black Lake Manor like a caged animal, his neck covered in the raw, bloody marks of Cassandra's punishment. At the time, she'd assumed he was playing hard to get. Now, she knew better. Time had revealed the truth. Liam was a man of stubborn pride, someone who would rather hurl himself into the ocean than beg Cassandra for anything. Thinking of it now, Evelyn felt a strange sense of respect for him. Anyone who could attract her miss's obsessive attention and still hold onto his own identity was a force to be reckoned with. If not for the amnesia, getting him to bow his head would have been impossible. Evelyn nodded. Just as she was about to say more, Cassandra's voice cut in again, sharp and focused. Have you checked all of his things? Evelyn's heart skipped a beat. She knew exactly what Cassandra meant. Yes, mister. Lynn's residency papers have been processed. His passport and ID were in a hidden compartment of his backpack. I've already secured them. Good. That saves us a trip. And the appointment. All taken care of. I submitted an expedited request and applied some pressure. They said we can go over any time after 10 tomorrow morning. Evelyn then added a necessary reminder. However, miss, I couldn't find any of Mr. Lynn's financial statements. That's simple, Cassandra said with a light smile, already orchestrating her next move. Tomorrow morning, I want you to have the deed for this estate transferred into Liam's name. Have the car ready. In the afternoon, he and I are going to the courthouse. This wasn't the first time Cassandra had lavished gifts on Liam. Her miss was notoriously generous, especially when it came to him. Evelyn didn't question it. Very good, she said. With everything arranged, Cassandra turned back to the bedroom door. She took a deep breath, squeezed her eyes shut, then opened them again, her expression wiped clean of all emotion. Only then did she turn the handle and push the door open. Inside, the warm, dim light still glowed. Heavy silk curtains blocked the windows, behind which the world was now pitch black. It was silent, so silent, she could hear the soft, even rhythm of Liam's breathing. In that steady sound, Cassandra heard a world of intimacy. A smile crept onto her lips. She closed the door without a sound and padded softly to the bedside. He was sleeping soundly. He looked just as he always had, refined, handsome, a perfect mirror of the statue she'd commissioned. But after so many days apart, the sight of him made the emotions churn violently within her. Tiptoeing, she reached out and gently tucked the blanket around his waist before sitting on the edge of the bed. She couldn't help herself. Her hand rose, her fingers tracing the air just above his brow before finally landing, light as a feather, on his skin. The touch felt like it spanned a lifetime. The sharp, clear lines of his face were a solid reality beneath her fingertips. The heat of his breath was real. In that instant, she felt her heart, which had been floating in a void, finally land on solid ground. It was a feeling she couldn't describe. She had fantasized about their reunion 1,000 times, but never imagined it would be so sudden, so fraught. Yet, her heart continued its frantic, galloping rhythm, her breath growing short as the drumming in her chest echoed in her ears. He was here. That was enough. Cassandra slowly lowered herself, pressing her cheek against his chest, the double heartbeat, his and hers, overwhelming her senses. Thank God, you're alive, she murmured, her eyes growing red again. Thank God, you're still alive. The next morning, Liam's eyes fluttered open. He felt like he'd been dragged back from the gates of hell. He hadn't woken up naturally. He'd been suffocated awake. Something heavy was pressing on his chest, squeezing the air from his lungs. He blinked, and the first thing he saw was Cassandra's head. She was slumped over, sleeping sideways in a chair by the bed, her ear pressed against his chest. Like a hangover after a night of heavy drinking, fragments of their conversation from yesterday flooded back. His brow furrowed. Cassandra had said they were married. Why couldn't he remember that? As far as he knew, they hadn't even officially been a couple. And now they'd already gone through a wedding ceremony? As he mulled it over, he couldn't help but shift his body. The movement startled Cassandra awake. She frowned, rubbing her lower back in discomfort before looking around, confused. How did I fall asleep here? Liam's mouth twitched in a sarcastic half-smile. He liked to know that, too, but it was hard to stay angry. Seeing the dark, bruised circles under her eyes, he knew her mental state had been shot for days. A flicker of something soft moved in him. His reply was gentler than he intended. You were probably just exhausted. The words made Cassandra's heart flutter. She instinctively touched her cheek. Am I? Yeah, Liam nodded, sitting up and reaching a hand toward her face. He gently tapped the skin beneath her eye. Look, 2 giant bruises right here. Anyone who didn't know better would think you'd been in a fight. His teasing tone felt intimate, like the sweet banter of a newlywed couple waking up together. The rough texture of his skin against her cheek made Cassandra's face flush. She turned away, but couldn't stop herself from muttering. You could at least say something nice. And if I was in a fight, you'd be the one who hit me. Seriously? In broad daylight, she was accusing him of domestic abuse? Liam wasn't having it. Why would I ever hit you? You're too beautiful. Hitting you would be a crime against nature. It was a compliment, but it sounded strange to Cassandra. She frowned, turning back to him. So what would you do? The question took a sharp left turn and sped onto the highway of innuendo. As a man who instantly understood, Liam felt a flash of shame at his own gutter mind. But his reply was automatic. Oh, I would. The words tumbled out before he could stop them. Cassandra froze for a second, her mind catching up. Then, a deep blush erupted across her cheeks, and her heart began to pound a frantic, wild rhythm. She lowered her eyes, mumbling shyly. Then, do it. Liam swallowed, his eyes wide with shock, forgetting for a moment whether he had amnesia or not. When the hell had Cassandra Thorne become so forward? No, Weichi. She'd always been this aggressive, at least with him. But the shyness? What was that about? Noticing his silence, Cassandra looked up, her face flushed, her lips a deep, alluring crimson. Her normally cool eyes were shimmering with a liquid heat that threatened to spill over. And with that look, she suddenly straightened up, leaned in, and before Liam could react, her lips were pressed against his cheek. The moment her lips touched his skin, Liam felt his breath catch in his throat. He stared, stunned, as she pulled back, her head bowed in a show of shyness. His own lips moved, but he could only manage a strangled sound. You. Before he could finish his tangled thought, Cassandra cut him off. You're my husband. Isn't it perfectly normal for me to kiss you? The word husband made the hair on Liam's arm stand on end. A beat later, Cassandra seemed to realize what she'd said, and the tips of her ears, hidden beneath her hair, turned a mortifying shade of red. Seeing Liam still staring at her, she couldn't help but snap. What are you looking at? I just kissed you. So stingy. Coming from anyone else, the words would have sounded normal. But this was Cassandra, the unhinged demon queen. Even before he jumped into the ocean, in their most intimate moments, he had never seen her like this. The whiplash from the contrast was overwhelming. So overwhelming, in fact, that it choked the mountain of questions rising in his throat. He quickly looked away. Sorry, I'll stop looking. He wasn't being polite. He was just genuinely terrified by this new version of her. His words, however, had the opposite effect. Cassandra's patience snapped. She lunged forward, grabbing his face with both hands and forcing him to look at her. No, you can't stop looking. You have to look at me. Her hands squeezed his cheeks, forcing his lips into a comical pout. He tried to speak, but no words would come out. Cassandra didn't care. She leaned in, aiming for his mouth, intending to plan another kiss. But Liam was faster. His hand shot up, clamping over his own mouth. Met with her confused gaze, he quickly explained, I haven't brushed my teeth. The atmosphere instantly shifted from romantic to ridiculous. Cassandra froze, then let go of him with a huff of annoyance. Then go wash up quickly. I have something important to talk to you about. As if granted a pardon, Liam scrambled off the bed, grabbed his shoes, and bolted into the bathroom. Staring at his reflection in the mirror, Liam's eyes went wide. He pinched himself hard. A red mark quickly bloomed on his wrist. It hurt. This wasn't a dream. Everything that had just happened was real. Could it be? Did he really lose a chunk of his memory after the fall? Had he and Cassandra actually known each other for a long time, repaired their relationship, and gotten married? There was no other way to explain this massive change in her personality. The sound of running water filled the bathroom. Outside, Cassandra could feel her cheeks burning, the heat making her dizzy. Liam's reaction had been priceless. So much better than his old, defiant glares. That look of flustered shock was like fuel, sending her heart into overdrive. An irrepressible smile spread across her face, and she walked over to the bathroom door, not wanting to be apart from him for even a minute. When Liam finished and opened the door, he found her waiting right outside. His mouth twitched. "You don't have to follow me to the bathroom, you know? I'm not going to run away." In the past, Cassandra would never have believed that. But now, she just nodded, smiling sweetly. "I know, but I really missed you. I don't want to be separated from you." The confession was too direct. Liam's heart sank a little. He quickly changed the subject. "You said you had something to tell me. What is it?" The topic shifted, and Cassandra didn't press the point. She looped her arm through his, her touch completely natural. "We went through the wedding ceremony, but we never got around to signing the license. I've already made an appointment at the registrar's office. We're going this afternoon to make it official." He knew it. He knew he couldn't have just forgotten something like that. He would never have agreed to a wedding without signing the papers first. Liam knew his own methods. "I honestly don't remember any of this," he said quickly, "and getting a marriage license is a huge deal. I haven't remembered anything. To just rush into this with you, how can I be responsible for you?" He was worried about being responsible for her. Cassandra was overjoyed. She looked at him in surprise. "It doesn't matter if you remember or not. We're already husband and wife. I won't interfere with your thoughts or your plans. You can do whatever you want. From now on, we could just slowly build our relationship again." Liam stared at her, dumbfounded. It seemed he had truly underestimated her feelings for him. He was supposedly an amnesiac, and yet she was still this devoted. Her love was an intense, burning thing. He could see it in her eyes, a world where he was the only reflection. But a feeling that precious couldn't be treated like a game. In that moment, Liam's emotions were a tangled mess. Once they signed that license, they would be a real married couple. He wasn't sure he could handle that kind of relationship. He took a deep breath, placing his hands on her shoulders and looking at her seriously. "I might never remember. I might forget everything that happened before. I might not even be able to fall in love with you after all this. Even knowing that, are you still determined to get this license?" Without a second of hesitation, Cassandra started to nod. "I want you to think about it carefully before you answer me." Liam's voice was sharp, stopping her mid-nod. This isn't something to be impulsive about. His sudden intensity startled her. She wasn't hesitating, but she was shocked by his seriousness. He was asking her this with such gravity, which meant he took it seriously. He valued their relationship, and he valued her opinion. He had amnesia, and yet he was still thinking so carefully on her behalf. In that instant, a sharp pang hit Cassandra's nose. The weeks of grief and heartbreak found their release, and tears streamed uncontrollably from her eyes. Seeing her cry, Liam's heart lurched. He thought his words had been too harsh. "No, wait, I didn't mean to yell at you," he stammered, scratching his head awkwardly. "I just think getting a license is important. For me, it's whatever, I'm a guy. But you're different. You're a girl. This isn't sexism. I just mean, you're the one at a disadvantage, you know? The world being what it is. In my current state, if I sign those papers with you, I feel like I'm being irresponsible." He rambled on, but the words faded into the background for Cassandra. All she could see was his face, so vivid and real, standing right in front of her, his every word a testament to how much he cared for her. She couldn't hold back any longer. She threw herself into his arms, pressing her face against his chest, her voice firm and unwavering. "I want to get the license. I only want you." The warm breath, the soft impact, Liam's heart stopped. But his principles were firm. He still hadn't figured out what was really going on. So how could he possibly agree to this? Liam shook his head and gently pushed her away. "Let's wait until I have a clearer picture of things," he said calmly. "It feels a little too soon to be talking about this." No matter how she looked at it, his expression was one of disapproval. Cassandra's heart sank. Her first instinct was to use her old tactics, to command him, to force him to get the license. But doing that now would only push him further away. Torn, Cassandra fell silent. She didn't want him to feel coerced again. She nodded, her expression softening. "Then we won't rush it. Let's go eat first. I'm hungry." "Okay." Seeing her back down, Liam breathed a sigh of relief. He desperately needed to understand what was happening, when he and Cassandra had supposedly gotten married, and why she had changed so dramatically. Lost in thought, he walked with her into the living room. Evelyn had already instructed the staff to prepare breakfast. Seeing the two of them emerge, she hurried over. "Miss, breakfast is ready." Cassandra nodded slightly, her arms still linked through Liam's, unwilling to let go even as they approached the dining table. Seeing this, Evelyn gave a subtle signal, and she and the other servants quietly exited the dining room. "How am I supposed to eat if you're holding on to me like this?" Liam asked, a touch of exasperation in his voice. They were seated, but Cassandra hadn't let go. In fact, she pulled her chair right up next to his. Cassandra was unfazed. "You have another hand, don't you?" Her retort shut him down completely. She was like human glue. From the moment he'd woken up, except for his trip to the bathroom, she hadn't left his side. Liam's scalp began to tingle. He didn't say anything more and simply picked up his fork with his free hand. Watching his elegant manner of eating, Cassandra couldn't stop a smile from spreading across her lips. Amnesia really could change a person's personality. There was a time when he would devour food in front of her like a starving wolf. Now, he was almost refined. "I saw that Evelyn brought back some books from your apartment. Are you planning on going to school?" she asked, her eyes fixed on him. "Yeah." Liam nodded, seeing no reason to hide it. "I enrolled in university here. I figured I might as well learn something instead of sitting around doing nothing." A man had to have a purpose. He didn't lack for anything now, but being cooped up at home without a plan would turn a person to mush. She hadn't expected that from him. Cassandra, a woman who always had her life meticulously planned, for the first time felt like they were on the same wavelength. Both so self-disciplined. Her mood instantly brightened, and she stared at him with undisguised adoration. Her intense gaze made Liam's skin crawl. He swallowed the food in his mouth and teased, "What? Are you planning on going to school, too?" "What would I do in a place like that?" Cassandra raised an eyebrow. "If I want to learn something, I'll just have the professors brought to me. Why waste the effort?" Liam's mouth twitched. Right. A high society heiress like Cassandra Thorne had no need for school. A diploma was just a shackle, for better or worse. Different classes, different worlds. What they saw, what they knew. It was a world of difference. Liam said nothing more. His silence, however, made Cassandra second-guess herself. "Why did you stop talking?" she asked, a flicker of anxiety in her eyes as she watched him eat. Liam took a sip of water. "I didn't. I think you're right. No, something's wrong. I must have said something to upset you. Otherwise, you wouldn't have gone quiet." At her words, Liam's gaze grew complex. He suddenly felt a wave of suffocation. He knew Cassandra loved him. He'd seen proof of it in countless moments. But she was becoming someone he didn't recognize. "Cassandra." He put down his fork and turned to face her, his expression serious. The sudden use of her first name made her heart race, but his solemn face filled her with unease. What is it?" Seeing her caution, Liam spoke earnestly. "You don't have to be so careful around me. Our relationship is one of equals. I don't want you to change yourself for me." He'd said this to her before, but Cassandra clearly hadn't taken it to heart. The only reason, Liam concluded, was that her feelings for him ran too deep. So deep that she was afraid to be herself in front of him. How could a relationship like that ever last? His words made Cassandra freeze. He didn't like her this way? No, that couldn't be it. If he didn't like her, his normal reaction upon waking would have been to storm out. But he hadn't. He was still here, alive and well, eating breakfast with her. He hadn't even questioned whether her stories were true or false. So he must have feelings for her, right? But was this kind of groveling, submissive love what she truly wanted? In that moment, Cassandra felt as if a bucket of ice water had been dumped over her head, soaking her to the bone. Her eyes darkened. "I understand," she murmured. For once, she didn't argue. She even released his hand, pulled her chair back to its proper place at the table, and began to eat. Liam frowned slightly. Watching her, he was surprised to feel a pang of disappointment. They say you should never touch love. In that instant, Liam finally understood why. Love was like a hot coal suspended over your heart. In its searing intimacy, it would occasionally drop a few sparks, burning your heart with a fine, numb pain. But what could he do? It wasn't like he could just remove the coal. Seeing that Cassandra was no longer looking at him, Liam thought, this is good. If things continued like this, it wouldn't take long for their feelings to burn out. But Cassandra wasn't about to give him that chance. When do your classes start? Her voice was calm again. Tomorrow, Liam replied. She nodded, her familiar, commanding tone returning. This afternoon, we're getting the license. After that, you can go to your classes, and your time is your own. But you will sleep here at night. I'll have Evelyn arrange a car for you. It had been a long time since he'd heard that domineering, non-negotiable tone of hers. The moment the words left her mouth, a strange sense of nostalgia washed over Liam. He had to be sick, actually feeling nostalgic for her bossiness. Still, at least she was willing to listen and communicate now. A little bit of bossiness, Liam thought, wasn't so bad. But the marriage license. Let's talk about the license later, Liam said without thinking, immediately rejecting the idea. I want to focus on my studies right now. I don't want to think about all that. In the past, hearing another refusal from Liam would have set Cassandra off. But now, she seemed to have taken his words to heart. This time, she turned to him and reasoned with him seriously. We have to get the license. It was the only step we had left before you lost your memory. She saw him about to argue and quickly added, I know you're thinking of me, but I've already given you my answer. I'm not marrying anyone but you. Liam's protests died in his throat. It was true he was thinking of her, but there were other reasons. He had no confidence he could give her a happy home, let alone raise the next generation. How could a relationship like that flourish? To him, signing that license was a shackle. Liam was about to force another argument, but Cassandra's next words struck him like a bolt of lightning, leaving him utterly thunderstruck. I'm pregnant. Cassandra leaned back in her chair, one hand resting on her stomach, her proud expression instantly softening. She watched Liam's shocked face and smiled gently. What? Are you planning on not taking responsibility? It was as if he'd been hit by lightning 5 times over. Liam was so stunned he started to stammer, pointing a trembling finger at her stomach, nearly biting his tongue in the process. You're pregnant? Since when? He shot up from his chair, staring at her in disbelief. Since before you lost your memory, of course. Seeing the idiotic look on his face, Cassandra found him utterly adorable. She answered smoothly, a playful urge bubbling up inside her. Didn't I just tell you? We went through all the steps before your amnesia. All that was left was the license. All the steps. Liam's eyes went wide as he repeated her words. The past, their tangled intimacy, flashed before his eyes in a dizzying montage. He remembered asking her once, late at night, after one of their encounters. She had been lying languidly in his arms when he'd asked, with us being this reckless, aren't you afraid of getting pregnant, Miss Thorne? He remembered how she'd looked up at him then, her face instantly displeased, her eyes cold. I would never allow myself to get pregnant before I was ready, she had said herself. As the heir to a great family, she had to have the power to control everything, especially when it came to procreating. She would never be careless about it. So, except for the first few times when they were lost in the heat of the moment, they had always taken precautions whenever it was deliberate. Of course, they'd been together so many times, drunk out of control. At some point, he couldn't keep track of when they had and hadn't been careful. But the odds had to be low, right? And now she was telling him she was pregnant. It was too hard to believe, especially when she kept insisting they were married, a fact he still couldn't recall. His mind was a complete blank. As the images of their countless encounters swirled in his head, a thought blurted out before he could stop it. Is it mine? Cassandra never expected him to say something so insulting. She shot up from her chair and, without hesitation, slapped him across the face. The crisp smack echoed through the dining room. Pain bloomed on his cheek. Liam turned his head, dazed, to see Cassandra glaring at him, her face contorted with fury. Who else could it be? She raged. I, Cassandra Thorne, have always been above board in my actions. How could you say something like that to me? The slap shocked Liam back to his senses. Seeing her seething with anger, he lowered his eyes and admitted his mistake. I'm sorry. I was just so shocked. I remember. We took precautions a few times. Cassandra was in such a rage that she completely missed the slip in his words. Her chest heaved as she bit her lip and sat back down, pointedly turning her face away from him. Realizing how badly he'd messed up, Liam knelt beside her chair. He looked up at her profile, his voice low and sincere. I'm really sorry. I still can't figure this out. You talk about a wedding, but I have no memory of it. It's my fault. His apology was genuine. Hearing it, half of Cassandra's anger dissipated. As her reason returned, she froze. Wait, he isn't supposed to have amnesia? But what did he just say? She whipped her head around, her eyes boring into him. What did you just say? What do you remember? Liam tensed. Before he could speak, Cassandra grabbed his face, forcing him to meet her gaze. You remembered something, didn't you? Her eyes were filled with a desperate intensity, but underneath it, Liam saw something else. Panic. She was afraid. She was afraid he would remember. Liam was certain he hadn't lost his memory of their past, just the part about a wedding that never happened. He didn't know what she was so afraid of, but seeing her now, pregnant, he knew he couldn't let her get too agitated. He shook his head. No, he denied. Just some random images flashed in my head. Visibly, Cassandra relaxed. Thank God. Thank God he didn't remember. If he remembered how cruelly she had treated him, he would never forgive her. It was better this way. Don't take what I said to heart, Liam said again, seeing her calm down. I was just surprised. I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry. Cassandra's anger had already vanished. Hearing his repeated apologies, her guilt returned. Right? He had amnesia. It was perfectly normal for him to be suspicious of a woman who just appeared and claimed to be his wife. But she had hit him without a second thought. Guilt washed over her. She looked down and saw him kneeling beside her, apologizing with such a sincere, nervous expression. He looked like a puppy, anxiously waiting for a treat. The sight made Cassandra's heart melt. No, I'm the one who should be sorry. I shouldn't have hit you. Unable to resist, Cassandra cradled his face in her hands, her gaze intense and full of emotion. Her thumbs gently stroked his cheeks, her eyes filled with pain. I hit you too hard. I'll have Evelyn get an ice pack. She started to get up, but Liam grabbed her arm. Seeing her questioning look, he shook his head. Don't worry about it. You just sit. I'll get anything you need. She wasn't alone anymore. She was pregnant. She was carrying his child. In this situation, everything else had to take a back seat. From now on, she was the priority. For some reason, Cassandra felt a change in Liam's gaze. He even stood up and started putting food on her plate, stopping just short of feeding it to her like he used to. But the sting of the slap still bothered her. I should still have Evelyn get an ice pack. I was too impulsive. Really, it's fine. Just eat, Liam insisted, then added with a half-joking smile. You don't even hit that hard. A kitten could scratch deeper than that. His sudden joke cut through the heavy atmosphere, instantly lightening the mood. Cassandra's guilt subsided. Watching him carefully serve her food, the love in her eyes threatened to spill over. She didn't repeat her offer, but instead said, Then, this afternoon, we're getting the license. Her tone was once again non-negotiable, a firm, repeated statement. This time, Liam didn't refuse. He wasn't an irresponsible person. For him, everything came down to reason. If you could persuade him, if the logic held up, he wouldn't argue. But Cassandra had never bothered with reason, which was why he had never once compromised. But things were different now. She was pregnant. It seemed women were born with a talent for being unreasonable, and on that basis, he had no grounds to refuse. He nodded dutifully. Okay. Finally hearing him agree, Cassandra's mood soared. She ate more than she usually did. After the meal, she stretched languidly, planning to go lie down on the living room sofa. But when she turned, she saw Liam staring intently at her. The moment she lifted her arm, he was on his feet and by her side. What are you doing? She asked, amused by his anxiousness. Liam didn't answer, just stared at her nervously. Are you getting up to go to the living room? Yes. Cassandra nodded. As she started to stand, Liam took her arm. Let me help you. It was a rare, proactive gesture from him. He really does care about her. Cassandra was ecstatic. She let him support her as she stood and was escorted to the living room. Evelyn, who was waiting on standby in the living room, saw her miss, and Liam emerged from the dining room arm in arm, with Liam looking so protective and careful. Her eyes filled with relief. The two of them were finally back on good terms. It hadn't been easy. Evelyn sighed inwardly and walked over. Miss, the car is ready. What time should we leave this afternoon? 2:00, Cassandra said. That was the earliest the office opened, a testament to how eager she was. Evelyn glanced at Liam and added for his benefit, Very good, miss. And as you instructed, the property transfer is complete. This estate is now under Mr. Lynn's name. She said it for Liam to hear. The meaning was clear. Look how good our miss is to you. You should be grateful and stop making her sad. Sure enough, upon hearing Evelyn's words, Liam's eyes went wide. He looked around the vast estate in disbelief. While it might not have been quite on the level of Maplewood Manor, it was still a sprawling villa, an overseas asset at that. And Cassandra had just given it to him, all for the sake of a marriage license. For a moment, Liam was at a loss for words. He suddenly felt like he owed Cassandra an immense debt. Her love for him was so deep. Even if her methods were forceful at first, she had been trying to make up for it ever since. From what she'd said, it sounded like she'd known about the pregnancy for a while and had already decided to keep the baby, all while she thought he was gone. The thought filled Liam with a complex mix of emotions. We're going to be together for the rest of our lives anyway, Cassandra said with a doting smile, seeing his shock. Who else will I give my property to? This scene, though heartwarming, struck Evelyn as slightly off. She felt as if their roles had been completely reversed. Liam subconsciously scratched the back of his head, unsure how to respond. He looked at Cassandra, and after a long moment, managed to stammer out a thank you. His gratitude made Cassandra laugh. What are you thanking me for? We're family now. There's no need to be so polite. Seeing the sparkle in her eyes, Liam forced a smile and helped her up. Okay, I won't say it again. Let me help you to the sofa. I'll cut up some fruit for you in a bit. Cassandra's eyes curved into crescents, happiness radiating from her. Okay, this was a scene Evelyn had never witnessed before. Liam and her miss in such perfect harmony. No, there was that one other time when they were reviewing documents together at the hotel. But while that had been calm on the surface, it was turbulent underneath. This, however, was genuine, tangible affection. Evelyn was stunned. She looked from Liam to her doting, smiling miss, her lips pursed in an indescribable expression. It was so rare, but she was glad to see it. After all the pain her miss had been through, it was wonderful to see them reconciled. But Evelyn's happiness was short-lived. Once Cassandra was settled on the sofa and Liam had carefully covered her with a blanket, he walked directly toward Evelyn. She straightened up immediately. Mr. Lynn, do you need something? Liam's next words hit Evelyn like a lightning bolt, leaving her scorched and speechless. Miss Reed, Liam began, scratching his head in slight embarrassment. I was wondering, what kind of fruit is good for someone who's pregnant? He wasn't an encyclopedia. He didn't know everything about pregnancy. All he knew was that the first 3 months were critical, and once the belly grew, you couldn't even bend over. You had to be careful with everything. Luckily, Cassandra was naturally well-proportioned, curvy where it counted, slender where it mattered, not paper-thin. Otherwise, Liam wouldn't have been able to leave her side for a second. So, he had to ask Evelyn about the do's and don'ts. This wasn't a game. He might not have been ready, but he was going to be a father now. That was a fact. He had to prepare. He had no idea how much Evelyn dreaded hearing that question. You know my miss is pregnant? She blurted out. Yeah, Cassandra just told me, Liam said with honest simplicity. Evelyn stared at her miss in disbelief. Now she understood. The harmonious scene she'd just witnessed was built entirely on the foundation of this pregnancy. This was bad. She shot a panicked look at Cassandra, about to say something, but Cassandra just stroked her stomach and spoke in a gentle voice. There's nothing to be surprised about. He's the father of my child. Of course I had to tell him. The words died in Evelyn's throat. She turned back to Liam, her voice strained. Melons, papayas, walnuts, cherry tomatoes are all good. Hold on. Before she could finish, Liam turned to a nearby servant. Do you have a pen and paper? Yes, sir. The servant nodded, retrieving a notebook and a pen from a nearby cabinet. Liam took them, flipped open the notebook, and looked at Evelyn seriously. Could you speak a little slower? And tell me all the other precautions for pregnancy. I want to write them down. Watching his anxious reaction, Cassandra couldn't help but smile. In that moment, she felt the full force of Liam's love. He was worried about her. He was afraid something would happen to her. He did like her. Cassandra had rarely felt such an emotion. The old Liam was always flippant, turning everything into a joke. But now he was genuinely, truly caring for her. She rested a hand on her stomach, happiness overflowing in her eyes. Seeing their reactions, with her miss looking so blissful, Evelyn couldn't bring herself to speak the truth. She swallowed the words that had risen to her lips. It looks like I'll have to discuss this with Riley and Haley later. This was the worst bad idea in the history of bad ideas. She sighed and began to carefully instruct Liam. There's nothing too special to pay attention to, just the usual. But she needs to rest well, get proper nutrition on a regular schedule, and have regular checkups. When was the last checkup? Liam asked, scribbling in his notebook. Last month, I think, Evelyn improvised. But we don't need to check too frequently. I'll remind Miss to get a follow-up in a while. How could they possibly do a follow-up now? A checkup would immediately reveal that the pregnancy was fake. Their relationship had just started to mend. Her miss had probably told him about the pregnancy directly, which was why he'd become so compliant. If they went back to their old, toxic dynamic, Evelyn felt like she would lose her mind. Okay, keep going. What can she eat and what can't she eat? Liam nodded, adding his question with utmost seriousness. Evelyn sighed and went through the list, one by one. The two of them talked for at least half an hour, right in front of Cassandra. As soon as she could find an excuse to slip away, Evelyn rushed into Riley's room. Evelyn, why are you sweating so much? Isn't it autumn here? Riley, who was lounging on her bed playing with her phone, sat up and asked curiously. Evelyn closed the door and wiped the sweat from her brow, her face a mask of exasperation. It's all Haley's fault for that boneheaded idea. Liam already knows Cassandra is pregnant. What? Riley gasped, scrambling to the edge of the bed. Did brother Liam say anything? Are they still fighting? Evelyn shook her head, picturing the harmonious scene downstairs. She sighed again. No, they're not fighting. In fact, they're getting along great. Great, Riley exclaimed, about to jump out of bed. Then I'm going down to see what's going on. Evelyn panicked, grabbing Riley's arm. Don't. Miss Riley, whatever you do, don't go down there. Why not? Riley asked, confused. I haven't even said hi to brother Liam since he got back. Since they're getting along, I'll just go down and chat with him for a bit. If you go down there now, Miss Thorne will probably have you shipped off to Indonesia, Evelyn said, her mouth twitching. Go down there? The two of them were in the living room, practically melting into each other. The staff had all been dismissed. If Riley went down now, she'd be walking into a minefield. Riley raised an eyebrow, a knowing grin spreading across her face. Oh, I get it. They're downstairs making out, aren't they? Evelyn stared at Riley in shock. Miss Riley, where did you learn to talk like that? The internet. Riley pointed to her phone. It's fine. So what if brother Liam knows? It's not a big deal. Their relationship is better now. Even if my sister isn't pregnant, they'll be sleeping in the same bed tonight. It's bound to happen sooner or later. Coming from anyone else, it wouldn't have been so shocking. But this was Riley, a girl with an innocent, adorable face, spewing words that were completely scandalous. Evelyn felt like her brain was about to explode. Miss Riley, do you not know that you can't do that kind of thing in early pregnancy? The newly evolved Riley immediately understood. She blinked her big eyes and stared at Evelyn curiously. You can't? In the romance novels I've been reading, the heroines are all pregnant, and the male leads are still pretty. Ferocious. Evelyn's mouth twitched. She held back her words for a long moment. It wasn't that you couldn't, but even if you could, seeing how carefully Liam was protecting Cassandra, there was no way he would risk it. She knew she shouldn't have come to Riley for help. She was hoping for a solution, and instead got 3 sentences of complete nonsense. Thinking of the 2 lovebirds downstairs, before she came up, the once warring couple had been feeding each other fruit, cooing at one another. Evelyn sighed in resignation. Never mind. Let's just leave it to fate. We have reviewed and approved your documents. This is the application for a marriage license, which you both need to fill out and then read aloud for our camera. At 2:30 in the afternoon, inside the appointed registrar's office, a friendly white official handed them 2 documents. Cassandra, who had clearly done her research, took them without surprise. Liam, however, was taken aback. Though it was his first time getting married, he'd seen the process in the U.S. on TV. You took some photos, and then a clerk behind a counter filed the paperwork. He hadn't expected the UK regulations to be so ceremonious. He looked at the boxes and blank spaces on the form and frowned slightly. So we fill this out and then read it to the camera? That's right, the registrar nodded, gesturing to a camera set up on a tripod. We need to film it to ensure you are both entering into this marriage willingly. His words were so direct that Liam's mouth twitched. He glanced over and saw Cassandra already bent over the form, diligently filling it out with a fountain pen. The afternoon sun streamed through the window, bathing her in a peaceful, serene light. Liam didn't say anything more. To marry him, Cassandra had given him things worth billions, without asking for anything in return except for this license. And now, she was pregnant. Although the sudden promotion to fatherhood was jarring, he couldn't shirk his responsibility. Liam's expression hardened. He picked up a pen, leaned over the table, and began to write. Noticing him finally begin, a smile bloomed on Cassandra's face. There was no happier moment than this. The person she had longed for was right beside her. From now on, she was no longer alone. About 10 minutes later, Liam had finished filling out the form and pressed his thumbprint onto the ink pad. As he wiped his thumb with a tissue, he heard Cassandra's voice. Do you want to go first, or should I? She gestured to the video camera on the desk. Liam paused, then gestured back with a small smile. Ladies first. All right. Cassandra didn't argue. She picked up her application and signaled to the registrar to start the camera. Then, she smiled at the lens and began to read, her voice clear and smooth. Application for a marriage license. I, Cassandra Thorne, and Liam Lynn, hereby apply to be married, and do solemnly declare. She read with profound gravity as Liam watched from the side. Her declaration was as solemn as a wedding vow, each word landing with weight and precision. Time seemed to stand still. In the quiet room, only her voice echoed, a deafening proclamation. By the time she finished, Liam was deeply shaken. She was taking this oath so seriously. Then again, perhaps she had never been anything but serious. From their very first meeting until now, Liam couldn't believe they had actually reached this point. In that moment, he suddenly thought that if time could just stay this way, it wouldn't be so bad. His gaze softened as he watched her finish the entire declaration. The registrar switched off the camera and gave Cassandra a smiling nod. She let out a breath and couldn't help but mutter, I feel like I was reciting school regulations. Her unexpected comment made Liam, still reeling from the moment's intensity, burst out laughing. School regulations? I don't think you've ever been to school, have you? It's an exaggeration. A figure of speech. Don't you get it? Cassandra shot him a glare. It's a rhetorical device. All right, an exaggeration. Liam didn't argue, just went along with it. He turned to the registrar, and, as the camera started rolling again, he picked up his own certificate and began to read. The roles were reversed, just like a real wedding ceremony. But at their first wedding, Liam hadn't been standing before her like this. So alive, so real, so serious. On that day, what she had wanted most was to hear him say "I do," but she knew it was impossible. But now, Liam was sitting right in front of her, reading their marriage declaration. How is this not his "I do"? A smile curved Cassandra's lips, her gaze on Liam turning impossibly doting. From this moment on, he was her only husband, and she was his only wife. So what if he had amnesia? Feelings could be cultivated. In the past, she could make him tremble with fear at the sound of her name. She could do it again, just in a different way. She swore she would spoil him to the heavens, spoil him to the bone. She would make him understand that no one in this world could ever be better to him than she was. Divorce? Impossible. On the way over, Cassandra had figured it out. While cultivating his feelings, she had to make him realize that she was the best thing that would ever happen to him. When Liam could no longer find anyone in the world better than her, he would never be able to leave. God, that felt good. The very thought of it was thrilling. It was like a switch had flipped in her brain, a moment of divine, diabolical clarity. Cassandra stared at Liam with near-obsessive intensity, her fierce gaze looking like it was about to devour him whole. After reading the final date and signing his name, Liam looked up and met Cassandra's faintly crimson eyes. They were bottomless pits of excitement, the look of a predator whose prey had finally walked into the trap. An involuntary shiver ran down Liam's spine. He hadn't seen that look on her face in a long, long time. As a registrar placed the tape in a small golden case, Liam had a sinking feeling. He'd been played. Well then, congratulations to you both, the registrar said, placing the case in a cabinet behind him, a wide smile on his face. From this day forward, you are a legally married couple. I wish you both a long and happy life together. But when he looked back at the couple, he saw them staring at each other in a bizarrely tense tableau. The woman's expression was one of ecstatic, almost manic glee, as if she were imagining something intensely stimulating. The man, however, looked utterly terrified. The registrar scratched his head. Right then, you two can go for your photos now. Please follow me, he stammered, standing up and gesturing toward an inner room. Liam snapped back to reality. As he stood, he saw Cassandra rise with him. She walked to his side and, as if it were the most natural thing in the world, looped her arm through his. All right, could you two look at the camera, please? And smile. The photographer instructed from behind his camera, gesturing to the couple on the platform. Dressed in formal wedding attire, Liam and Cassandra sat side by side, arms linked in a picture of intimacy. The license was signed. Liam knew he had to play along with the rest of it. He stretched his lips into a wide smile, but his mind was anything but calm. As the flash went off, he felt Cassandra's hand tighten on his, her grip so strong it felt like she was trying to merge him into her own body. A faint ache spread from his wrist. He glanced down. His skin was white where she was clutching him. He could see and feel her overwhelming possessiveness. He knew why he was here. She was pregnant, so he had to take responsibility. He had played a part in creating this situation, so it was only right that he face the consequences. He deserved this. Liam's expression hardened. No matter what, the child she was carrying was his. The past was the past. For now, his duty was to be a father. The photos were developed quickly. In the small picture, both he and Cassandra were smiling. As the official certificate was handed to them, it was done. They were a legally married couple, bound together through thick and thin, forever. Would you two like to book a wedding venue? We can offer several locations for you to choose from, free of charge, the staff member offered happily, clearly pleased to have witnessed the union. Before Cassandra could answer, Liam shook his head. No, thank you. We've already had our wedding. The staff member paused, confused. Oh, you had the ceremony first? Yes, Liam nodded, gesturing to Cassandra. That's what my wife said. The word wife made Cassandra's heart soar, but the rest of the sentence wiped the smile from her face. The staff member's smile froze. Wait, from the sound of it, the groom didn't even seem to know he'd had a wedding. She looked at Cassandra, bewildered. Cassandra had wanted to agree. Their first wedding had been grand, but the groom hadn't been there. Well, he was there, but as a statue. This was the most important day of her life, and she desperately wanted to do it again, properly, with Liam. But now he was saying no and throwing the question back at her. No, he has amnesia, she reminded herself. This is normal. Cassandra frowned slightly, but didn't contradict him. This is my husband said. We don't need another one. The staff member scratched her head awkwardly. All right then. Well, I wish you both a lifetime of happiness. On the car ride back from the office, Cassandra raised the privacy divider and leaned against Liam, resting her head on his shoulder and rubbing her temples. Seeing this, Liam grew nervous. Are you not feeling well? Cassandra's eyes were closed. Just a little tired. Let me rub them for you, he offered. Evelyn, could you please drive a little more smoothly? He called out to the driver's seat. Of course, Evelyn's voice came back. Liam gently placed his hands on Cassandra's temples and began to massage them with light, careful movements. The atmosphere in the car turned intimate. His warm fingertips roamed her head, the slightly rough texture of his skin a tender comfort. Any better? He asked softly after a while, seeing the tension in her brow relax. Cassandra hummed, her eyes still closed. She returned to their earlier topic. Why did you say we didn't need another ceremony? She was a little unhappy, feeling a sense of regret. Liam smiled. Didn't you say we already went through the whole ceremony? If that's the case, there's no need to repeat it. Getting the license is enough. He thought his logic was sound. The only thing left to do was get the license, and now that was done, there was no need for any more pointless effort. But Cassandra's eyes snapped open. Lying on his lap, her gaze met his chin. She reached up, annoyed, and grabbed his collar, forcing him to look down at her. Just because we've done it before doesn't mean we can't do it again. The logic was flawed. It was like hugging. Just because you've hugged once, does that mean you can never hug again? If she wanted to, she could drag Liam all over the world and have a grand wedding in every country to make up for the regret of her first one. Liam was stunned, unsure how to reply. He remained silent. Cassandra frowned, tightening her grip, pressing him. You don't like me? He couldn't believe how quickly her mind jumped. Then why would I get a license with you? He countered with a laugh. Oh, Cassandra relented. Right? If he didn't like her, why would he marry her? She pouted slightly, her voice laced with disappointment. Then why don't you want to have another wedding? I have class tomorrow. You don't want your husband missing his first day of school, do you? The phrase, your husband, was all it took to send Cassandra's heart into a flutter. Her eyebrows shot up in delight, but she still maintained a proud front. Even if you say that, I'm not letting you off the hook. He found her pout rather cute. So what should I do? Liam asked, amused. Cassandra thought for a moment, then issued a command. Then, as punishment, you'll have to put me to sleep every night starting today. If I don't sleep, you don't sleep. She was pregnant, so she was in charge. Liam certainly wasn't going to refuse. He smiled and replied, As you wish, my dear wife. Those few words made Cassandra's heart race. Her face flushed, and she snorted softly. Then she closed her eyes and snuggled deeper into his embrace. The small movement was surprisingly potent. Liam swallowed hard, his voice turning husky. Hey, could you move a little? You're crushing something. Clearly feeling the object pressed against the back of her head, Cassandra's cheeks burned, but a mischievous impulse took over. She shifted deliberately. No. Liam suddenly regretted telling Evelyn to drive slowly. This was its own special kind of torture. The entire ride was an exercise in agony. By the time they reached the estate, Cassandra had fallen asleep. Pregnant women slept a lot. Liam knew that. He carefully shifted her head, got out of the car, and then leaned back in to lift her into his arms. After carrying her to the bedroom and placing her on the bed, Liam finally let out a sigh of relief. But just as he was about to pull his arms out and leave, Cassandra's hand shot out and hooked around the back of his neck. A warmth spread across the back of his neck. Before him, Cassandra's eyes were half open. Liam froze. You're awake. With all that commotion, how could I not be? She murmured with a teasing smile. She wasn't heavy, but the distance from the car to the bedroom was still considerable. Liam's voice was low as his gaze fell on her beautiful face, lightly touched with makeup. The sky outside was darkening, but the room was filled with a peaceful aura. Her hand was clamped firmly around his neck, holding him in place. He couldn't move. If he stood up too quickly, he was afraid he'd wrench her arm. So, he was forced to remain bent over her. You're pregnant now. You can't overexert yourself, Liam said, his words layered with meaning. Cassandra just raised an eyebrow, completely ignoring his warning. But I want to... That doesn't matter. What if you get hurt? Liam's tone turned serious. This wasn't a game. He was fired up, and they hadn't seen each other in a long time, but he wasn't so out of control that he couldn't restrain himself. Cassandra pouted, clearly displeased. Is it because I'm pregnant, or because you just don't want to? Her mind always leaped to conclusions. Liam only understood the surface meaning and answered honestly. Of course it's because you're pregnant. Cassandra's face showed no pleasure. She stroked her stomach and said in a saccharine, wounded tone, "I knew it. You still care more about this baby than you do about me." The air instantly soured with jealousy. This was completely irrational. Liam couldn't believe Cassandra was jealous of their unborn child. "Cassandra, you're an adult," he said, baffled. "And this isn't just my child. How can you be so petty with a baby?" "What's wrong with a baby?" she mumbled unhappily. "You're already so obsessed with it now. Why give birth to it? Won't it steal all your attention away?" Liam was stunned as he met her possessive, domineering gaze. For a moment, his scalp tingled. She truly was the queen of jealousy, getting territorial over a child that hadn't even been born yet. He sighed. "How could that happen? It's our child, and you're my wife. Of course I'll cherish you both. So, do you like it more? Or do you like me more?" Cassandra pressed, her eyes locked on his. In this situation, one wrong word and she would probably go crazy again. Considering her mood, Liam sighed. "You, of course." Getting the answer she wanted, Cassandra's aggressive posture vanished, replaced by a look of satisfaction. "That's more like it," she muttered, turning on her side and ordering, "Come here and rub my back. I don't know why, but it was fine this afternoon, and now it's killing me." Hearing this, Liam kicked off his shoes while grumbling, "It's because you insisted on lying on my lap in the car. You probably twisted it." The teasing note in his voice made Cassandra's face flush. She shot back a flustered, playful threat. "Keep talking trash, and see if I don't pin you down." She was a woman of her word, so Liam wisely shut his mouth and began to gently massage her back. He'd done it for her many times before, so he knew the right spots, his technique improving with practice. Before long, Cassandra had drifted off to sleep. Hearing her steady breathing, Liam carefully removed his hands and got off the bed. Outside, the sky was dark, dotted with stars. The garden below was silent. He left the bedroom and saw Haley Lou rushing down the hall, carrying a large box. They came face to face. Seeing the resurrected Liam, Haley's face was a mask of pure shock. It wasn't just the surprise of seeing him again, it was the timing. Evelyn had sworn that Liam and Cassandra would be in the bedroom at this hour, so she wouldn't run into them. But here he was. It was like showing up to work and immediately running into the rarely seen vice chairman. Haley cursed Evelyn internally while dutifully bowing. "Second TR. I mean, Mr. Lynn, good evening." She had almost blurted out his contact name. Liam raised an eyebrow, a slight smile on his lips. He didn't comment on her slip, just asked, "Haley, didn't your miss have my things moved over?" "Where are they?" "In the guest room over there." Haley gestured, then remembered the box in her arms. "Oh, right, this box is also yours, Mr. Lynn. I was just about to put away. Let's go together." "Sure." Liam nodded. He was about to take the box from her, but Haley had already turned and headed down the hall. He scratched his head awkwardly and followed. The guest room was next to the master bedroom. It was clean and tidy, not a hint of clutter. Haley placed the box on a table and dusted herself off. "Those other boxes over there are also yours. They're all packed. I'll go get the staff to help you unpack." "Okay." Liam didn't refuse, just walked over and started opening a box himself. A few servants quickly came to help, and since Liam didn't have much, everything was unpacked and put away in 10 minutes. Once they were done, Haley stood by the door, looking at Liam with a hesitant, thoughtful expression. Feeling her gaze, Liam turned around, a few books in his hands. "What is it? Is there something you want to say?" Haley frowned, studying him closely. "Mr. Lynn, have you lost your memory?" Liam froze, not expecting such a direct question. He smiled. "Why do you ask?" "Because you just called me by my name." As far as she could remember, she hadn't been in front of Liam at all since his return. Yet he had just called her by name the moment he saw her. Liam's eyes flickered, but he didn't answer her directly. "Your young lady is pregnant. We're already married. Does my memory really matter now?" There was no point in discussing it. To be honest, he had never planned to marry Cassandra. He still didn't know how to face her. But now she was pregnant, and the matter was settled. They were bound together, no matter what. What was the point of talking about anything else? He sounded resigned, his words flat and devoid of emotion. But Haley was stunned. What was Liam talking about? Haley Lou stared at Liam, her voice a shocked whisper. "You already know she's pregnant?" "Yeah, it's been almost 2 months, right?" Liam replied automatically, but then he froze. Something was wrong. Why were Evelyn and Haley so stunned that he knew about Cassandra's pregnancy? They were her right and left hands. Logically, their first reaction shouldn't be shock. It should be a warning or congratulations or a stern lecture about treating their boss right. But the look in Haley's eyes was pure, unadulterated astonishment. Liam's expression hardened. Is there something strange about her pregnancy? The question landed like a stone in Haley's chest. She panicked. No, of course not. I was just surprised. Liam set down his book, his gaze pinning her to the spot. Surprised about what? Meeting his sharp eyes, Haley felt beads of sweat form on her forehead. No one had told her that Liam had actually bought the lie she'd spun. When you fell into the ocean, I thought. Well, I thought you were gone. Seeing you alive now, it's just surprising. She blurted out the first thing she could think of. Yes, that's it. I'm just surprised you're alive. Liam's eyes narrowed. It was a pathetic lie. They were both terrible actors, their performance almost insultingly clumsy. Oh, he said, deciding not to call her on it. Not yet. Well, Mr. Lin, if there's nothing else, I'll be outside. Seizing the chance to escape, Haley practically fled the room. Her haste was a dead giveaway. She was hiding something. So, there was something off about Cassandra's pregnancy. And yet, Cassandra's own reactions had felt so real. I'm pregnant. Who else could it be but you? Her triumphant, joyful words from that day echoed in his mind. She had said them with such conviction. Either she was a world-class actress who had managed to convince even herself, or she didn't know the truth either. Everything was happening too fast. Liam felt like he'd been railroaded into this, the marriage license, moving into this UK estate. His thoughts were a tangled mess, and a dull ache started in his temples. But suspicion was just suspicion. He had no concrete proof. And at this point, what could he do? He had to try to be a good father. And while he was at it, it was time to clear away a few other obstacles. He opened an app he hadn't touched in a long time. In his messages, the chats from Leo and Chloe showed 99+ notifications. They were the only 2 contacts who had reached out. Ignoring their messages for now, he went straight to his contact list. Among the handful of names, he found Sylvia Shaw and sent her a message. Are you free tomorrow afternoon? Seconds later, an animated GIF of a wildly excited cartoon character popped up, followed by a reply. Liam, you finally decided to see me? Of course I'm free. St. Polydor's Bistro. 1:30 p.m. After Sylvia sent back an okay hand emoji, Liam turned off his phone. He didn't disturb Cassandra, who was already asleep in the master bedroom, and instead spent the night in the guest room. The next morning, he was jolted from his sleep by a familiar feeling of suffocation. He opened his eyes and blinked, disoriented, to find Cassandra curled up beside him like a cat. Her arms were wrapped around his, and one of her legs was thrown completely over his. You're awake. Sensing movement, Cassandra's eyes fluttered open, still hazy with sleep. Yeah, Liam nodded. What are you doing in here? The question instantly snapped her awake. Her face clouded over with displeasure. Why can't I be in here? Who told you to sleep in the guest room? Seeing her imperious look, Liam decided not to provoke her. He softened his voice. I was just exhausted from unpacking yesterday, so I crashed here. Cassandra's gaze swept over the neatly arranged room, and her anger subsided slightly. Fine, she said, though still a bit heated. Next time, just have the staff do it. I pay them to work, not to sit around. Okay, I get it, Liam conceded, swinging his legs out of bed. It's getting late. I'm going to grab breakfast, and then head to campus to register. You should rest. Don't overdo it. Don't worry about me. Cassandra snuggled deeper into the sheets, shifting over to the warm spot he'd just vacated, clearly having no intention of getting up. Have Evelyn drive you. I already told her. From now on, she'll be your chauffeur. Liam shook his head. I'd rather have Haley take me. Haley. Cassandra froze. It was rare to hear him use such a casual, almost intimate tone for anyone else, let alone specifically request her as his driver. Instantly, her eyes darkened, and she stared at him with a sour expression. Seeing the familiar green-eyed monster rear its head, Liam chuckled. What are you jealous about now? I was just thinking that since Evelyn is a doctor, it's safer for you to have her here, now that you're pregnant. So he was thinking of her. The jealousy vanished, but she still pouted. You're not allowed to call other people by their first names like that. All right. Liam sighed, giving in completely. He got ready, grabbed his backpack, and headed out. Haley was waiting with the car to take him to Oxford. Since his escape, he'd wondered what to do with himself. For a while, he'd holed up in hotels, indulging in a hedonistic blur of fine dining and aimless wandering. But soon his body grew weary. The constant excess had thrown his life into chaos. He was up all night, his hair was falling out in clumps, and his mental state was deteriorating. Reckless freedom wasn't all it was cracked up to be. So he'd applied to a master's program at Oxford. With the assets from Maplewood Manor in his name and his degree from a top-tier university, he'd been accepted easily. He was still, in a way, a working student. The only difference was that he no longer had to fight for every second of every day. For him, school was now a place to coast, a retirement home. As the university buildings came into view, Liam couldn't help but feel a wave of nostalgia. His first university experience had been a grind. He'd lived like a machine, constantly on edge. While other students were dating, he was working shifts in the dining hall. While they were playing video games, he was going door to door in the dorms, trying to sell logistic services for Hamilton Industries. He had never truly enjoyed a single day of it. Now, he didn't need the money. Seeing the campus again, he felt a profound sense of change. It was true what they said. Once you have money, your first instinct is to try and patch up the past. If you finish class early, just send me a message. I'll be there within 5 minutes, Haley said, pulling the car up to the curb at the main gate of the university. Liam, about to get out, paused. 5 minutes. That's right. Haley nodded, her expression one of weary resignation. I'm your designated driver. Ms. Thorne has already rented an apartment for me near campus. I'll be there while you're in class. It's very close. Liam's mouth twitched. This wasn't a chauffeur. This was a warden. But he was already used to Cassandra's brand of domineering affection. He mumbled an okay and got out of the car. It was the first day of the term, and the streets around the university were lined with luxury cars of every make and model, though some students arrived on bicycles. As he stepped out, the atmosphere of academia and freedom hit him. He felt a surge of emotion. After everything he'd been through since graduation, he never thought he'd be back in school. The program he'd chosen was relatively light. The course load abroad wasn't intense. He had fewer than 10 classes a week, leaving him with plenty of free time. The morning class was full of new faces, but Liam made no effort to socialize. It ended quickly. Afterward, as he had planned, he headed straight for St. Polydor's Bistro. This time, however, he was there to quit. You're not working here anymore? Sandy Cho asked, watching him pack up his few belongings from a locker. Yeah, things are going to get busy. I won't have time, Liam said evasively. Sandy frowned with concern. What about money? Didn't you say you took the job because you were broke? That was then, he replied, brushing it off. Thanks for all your help these past couple of weeks. The sudden formality caught Sandy off guard. She didn't press further. All right then. If you ever need anything, just message me. We're still friends. Yeah, of course. After packing, Liam didn't leave. He found a table in the main dining room and waited for Sylvia Shaw. At 2:20 p.m., 10 minutes earlier than scheduled, Sylvia appeared. The moment she walked in, she spotted him in the corner. A slow smile spread across her face as she approached. Want something to drink? He asked as she sat down. Stripped of her usual arrogance, Sylvia offered a small, genuine smile. The set meal here is pretty good. I'll have what you're having. Okay. Liam nodded and ordered another set meal from the waiter. The atmosphere at the table grew thick with unspoken words. Sylvia didn't speak, merely watched him, her eyes filled with a complex mix of emotions. When the waiter brought their food, Liam cleared his throat and got straight to the point. Ms. Shaw, there are some things I'd like to ask you. Go ahead. I want to know about the Landon family. As the words left his mouth, Sylvia's smile vanished. She froze, her brow furrowing as she stared at him, a flicker of worry in her eyes. You remember everything. He understood her fear. She was afraid he remembered that she and her family had been the ones to drive him into the ocean. He'd anticipated this question and had his answer ready. Not everything. I just heard a few things about the past, so I wanted to ask you about it. The relief on her face was visible, but it was quickly replaced by a shadow of disappointment. She gazed out the window, as if watching a fleeting memory of happiness flash by. She couldn't understand it. If Liam knew about the past, he should know what Cassandra had done. Yet here he was, meeting with her, only to ask this question at the very moment her heart was filled with hope. Are you here to humiliate me? She asked, her expression unreadable, but her eyes, when they turned back to him, were filled with bitter resentment. Humiliate you? Liam was baffled. How could this possibly be about humiliation? Seeing his confusion, Sylvia's anger flared. Or are you here to laugh at me? To laugh at how naive I was, how I believed Lawrence Landon, how I helped force you into the ocean only to be targeted by Cassandra's revenge afterward. Her words struck him like a physical blow. Targeted by Cassandra's revenge, he repeated, his mind reeling as he stared at her. What revenge was she talking about? Had that much happened after his fake death? His shocked expression made Sylvia pause. The anger in her face softened into uncertainty. You don't know. Liam was speechless. He simply shook his head. How could I? If I knew, I wouldn't have had to ask you to meet me. So, you only call me out for this? Sylvia shot to her feet. God only knew how excited she'd been when his message came in late last night. She had dressed up, started getting ready 3 hours before their meeting, and all for this? He just wanted to pump her for information? Liam couldn't be bothered with her sudden agitation. His tone was flat. What else? The two words hit her like a slap. She glared at him, but then, remembering the amnesia, she forced her anger back down. Fine, Sylvia finally conceded, taking a long, hard drink of her soda. Ask what you want. Whether I answer or not depends on my mood. No kidding, she thought bitterly. If her father hadn't pulled their investments out so quickly, they would have lost their last foothold on Solar Island. She knew business was brutal, but she had never imagined that the mainland families would unite against them so swiftly. Overnight, every stock associated with the Shaw name had plummeted. And the reason? Simply because they were family from Solara. It made no sense. And now, Liam wanted her to recount the story of how Cassandra and her allies had crushed her family. How was that any different from rubbing salt in the wound? Her response only deepened Liam's confusion, but he knew Sylvia was not someone to be trifled with, and he was the one asking for a favor. He had to play by her rules. He cut straight to the chase. I want to know the current status of the Landon family. And yours. He couldn't help but add the last part. He shouldn't have. The fire he just extinguished in Sylvia's eyes roared back to life. She slammed her hand on the table, shot to her feet, and pointed a trembling finger at him. Liam, don't think you can get away with anything just because I like you. You know what happened, and now you're asking me about it? What the hell is your game? Baffled by her sudden outburst, Liam just blinked. I don't have a game. And I don't know. You don't know. How could you not know? Didn't that bitch Cassandra tell you? Being accused was one thing, but hearing Sylvia spit venom at Cassandra was another. Whatever had happened between them, Cassandra was now his legal wife. Insulting her was, by extension, insulting him. Liam's brow furrowed in displeasure. Ms. Shaw, watch your mouth. You're protecting her. You're actually protecting her now? Already simmering with rage, Sylvia completely lost it. Her voice rose, sharp and accusatory. What kind of spell did Cassandra cast on you? Even with amnesia, you're defending her. Does all our time together, all those years, mean less than a single word from her? This was completely irrational. Sylvia was so incensed that her voice had risen, drawing looks from nearby tables. Although they were in the UK, the restaurant was near the university and popular with Chinese students. Their little drama was quickly becoming a public spectacle. Liam frowned. Ms. Shaw, I suggest you calm down. The unspoken warning was clear. People were watching, some even recording with their phones. Realizing this, Sylvia glanced around, then sank back in her chair, her face now a cold, hard mask. She took a sip of soda, visibly composing herself. What did Cassandra tell you? Liam fabricated a partial truth. Not much. Just why I ended up in the ocean. Oomph. Sylvia snorted, her jaw clenched. She's good at that. Twisting everything to her advantage. What do you mean? Nothing. Sylvia turned her gaze back to him, her emotions now under control. Her voice was flat. Did she tell you about our relationship? Liam shook his head. No, she didn't. His denial seemed to surprise her. She really didn't tell you that. She murmured, then paused, lost in thought. Before your amnesia, we were engaged. We knew each other as children. After the Landon family abandoned you on Solar Island, my father was the one who saved you. As she spoke, a shadow of grief crossed her face. Then one day you just disappeared. We searched the entire island, but couldn't find you. My parents thought you were dead. They told me to stop looking, but I refused to believe it. When I came of age, I started a company on the mainland, and one day, Lawrence Landon approached me. He said you were his long-lost grandson, and that he was looking for you, too. He offered to help me. I need to find you. He hosted our engagement ceremony at the Landon estate. She trailed off, leaving the story unfinished. But it was enough. Everything clicked into place, matching the fragmented memories he possessed. Seeing the nostalgic longing on her face, he knew she wasn't lying. And yet, then what's this about me already being married to Cassandra? He asked without hesitation. Sylvia's expression became incredibly complex. Is that what she told you? Yes. His simple confirmation was met with a heavy silence. Sylvia didn't speak, just stared into her soda glass, as if the secrets of the universe were swirling within it. Liam didn't interrupt, letting her think. He had tried looking it up online, but the trending topics had already been scrubbed. All he could find were celebrity gossip articles. Any search terms related to the Landon family yielded nothing. Now that he and Cassandra were married, with a child on the way, he had to take his responsibilities as a husband seriously. And a man as calculating as Lawrence Landon, a man who could plot for decades, was a threat he had to guard against. The only way to get the full story was from Sylvia. She was telling the truth, Sylvia finally said, her voice a soft, definitive whisper. There was no deception in it. He hadn't expected such honesty. A tremor went through him. So I really did lose a part of my memory, he murmured. But I was the one you were engaged to first. She just. Stole what was mine. Sylvia shot back, her eyes fixed on his, searching for a reaction. She was destined for disappointment. Just as before, Liam's face was a mask of calm, not a flicker of surprise. He simply looked at her, his voice even. How can you call it stealing? If you truly love someone, even if you could turn back time, there would be no room for a second person to squeeze in. Love had never been a rational thing. If it wasn't possible, it wasn't possible. Forcing it would only lead to mutual destruction. He was also warning her, give up when you need to. There was no point in clinging to this. After everything they had been through, hearing those words from him again, Sylvia finally understood that she had no chance. Even with his memory gone, he showed no attachment to their past. But having Liam had become an obsession. The thought of him living happily with someone else was a torment she couldn't bear. After a long silence, she looked up, her gaze intense. I'm not telling you this to win your affection or your pity. I'm telling you this because I don't want to lie to you, and to let you know, I have no intention of giving up. Her words were cut short by a cool, sharp voice from behind them. Then I suppose I should present you with an award. A trophy for your persistence. At the sound of the voice, Sylvia's head snapped up. Cassandra Thorne was gliding toward their table, her face an icy mask of controlled fury. Liam turned instinctively. She was already beside him, her eyes smoldering, her beautiful, flamboyant face clouded with an unnerving darkness. But what truly startled him was her attire. A woman in her condition should have been wearing loose, comfortable clothing. Instead, she wore a striking off-the-shoulder dress, her pale skin exposed to the air, and scattered across her neck and collarbone were a series of vivid, unmistakable marks. Liam couldn't remember when he'd made them. As he tried to place the memory, Cassandra moved, completely ignoring the stares of the other patrons. She walked right up to his side, rested a hand on his shoulder, and then, in full view of everyone, tilted his chin up with her fingers. Weren't you supposed to be at school? What's this? Sneaking out to meet an old flame behind my back. Her intimacy was a performance, a blatant display of ownership for Sylvia's benefit. Liam looked up at her, astonished by the childishness of the gesture. He hadn't realized she was having him watched so closely. Before he could react, Sylvia shot to her feet. Cassandra, I suggest you show some decency. Liam has amnesia. Why are you forcing him into this? Cassandra met Sylvia's righteous indignation with a slow, deliberate arch of her eyebrow. She kept her fingers on Liam's jaw, her voice a blade of ice. Tell her, have I forced you into anything? It wasn't a question. It was a threat. They were so close, he could see the storm gathering in her eyes. For a moment, he felt that familiar sense of suffocation, as if a single word of defiance would result in his jaw being crushed. But he remembered she was supposedly pregnant, and he yielded. Of course not, he said, his voice even. This was all my choice. Sylvia's face was a mask of disbelief. She stared at the intimate scene before her, utterly speechless. Cassandra, on the other hand, smiled, a satisfied gleam in her eyes. Then, in front of the entire restaurant, she leaned down and pressed her lips to his. Instantly, a murmur went through the crowd of onlookers. Phones came out. Flashes went off. Liam took a deep breath. He didn't care if Cassandra was spying on him right now. He still had questions for Sylvia, and with Cassandra here, he couldn't get a single straight answer. His eyes darkened. He spoke in a low voice only she could hear. Cassandra, can you wait for me outside? I have something I need to ask Miss Shaw. The suggestion that he wanted to be alone with Sylvia was met with instant refusal. Cassandra slid into the seat beside him, her posture ramrod straight, her tone non-negotiable. Whatever you have to say, you can say it in front of me. There are no secrets between us. What's mine to know is yours. No secrets? Have you no shame? In front of all these people? Sylvia snapped, her fury barely contained. But with so many eyes on them, she restrained herself from doing anything more than lash out with her words. Cassandra arched an eyebrow at Liam. You haven't told her? Liam was lost. Told her what? A flicker of annoyance crossed Cassandra's face before her gaze landed back on Sylvia, now filled with smug triumph. Then allow me to tell her myself. She smirked, meeting Sylvia's confused and angry stare. Liam and I are married. That makes us a single entity. It was just a marriage. Sylvia had been at the ceremony. She wasn't going to be provoked by that. You called it a marriage. Did you even ask for his consent? She shot back, glaring at Cassandra. The words hit a nerve. Now that Liam was alive, their marriage was just a piece of paper. The wedding, for all its grandeur, was incomplete. Worse, with his amnesia, their entire history together had been wiped clean. Lately, Cassandra had been plagued by nightmares. She dreamt that Liam's memory would return, that he would remember the torment she'd put him through and realize he'd been tricked and trapped into this new life. She dreamt that he would grow to despise her. She would wake from these dreams in a cold sweat, needing to hold on to him just to feel safe. She was terrified of him hating her, of him leaving her. She couldn't accept that. But right now, she had to eliminate the competition. After a moment's hesitation, a slow, predatory smile spread across her lips. She turned to Liam. "Are you willing to marry me?" The question hung in the air. Sylvia tensed, her eyes fixed on Liam, waiting for his answer. This was a public execution, a deliberate slap in the face. Though the question was laced with threat, Liam knew exactly what Cassandra wanted to hear. Whatever their past, whatever the truth about her pregnancy, he had no proof right now. He had a compromise. In front of Sylvia, he nodded. Of course. Sylvia finally broke. She stared at Liam, then at Cassandra, in total disbelief. How was this possible? Cassandra had only found him 3 days ago. In 3 short days, had his entire personality changed? Had he really accepted someone so domineering? She hadn't used force, hadn't even lied to him. Could amnesia really change a person so completely? So, Cassandra, can you go outside for a minute? I really do have some things to ask, Miss. Shaw, Liam repeated, growing tired of the constant surveillance. He had hidden from everyone after his escape, even resisting the urge to contact Cassandra himself, hoping they would all just let him go. But they had found him anyway, clinging to him like vines, refusing to let go. His repeated request clearly annoyed Cassandra. She knew exactly what Sylvia was trying to do. She had rushed over the second she heard they were meeting. And now he wanted her to leave? To give the two of them space. Cassandra's face darkened. She stared at him for a long, silent moment, then abruptly stood up. I'll be waiting for you outside. She delivered the line with an icy finality and turned to leave. As she walked out of the restaurant, Liam finally let out a breath. He turned back to Sylvia, who was still looking at him with an expression of pure disbelief. She stared at him, biting her lip. What did she tell you? What could she possibly have said to make you agree to be with her? She had to know. She refused to believe amnesia alone could cause such a profound change. If it had, he would never have told her to leave him alone when they first met. He was still the same self-interested person at his core. For him to change his tune in just a few days, Cassandra must have told him something. Liam knew she would ask, but first, he had his own questions. I'll tell you, but in exchange, you have to tell me what's happened to the Landon family. Even if it was for the sake of his and Cassandra's child, he had to clear away any potential threats. He was still himself, the man who always looked out for number one. A slow smile spread across Sylvia's face. Fine, I accept your terms. She took a sip of her soda. After you fell into the ocean, she began, her voice flat, Cassandra united the other families and put pressure on the Landon family stocks. They captured Lawrence Landon alive. The Landon family's assets have been carved up by the other families. The House of Landon no longer exists. Although Liam had suspected as much, hearing it confirmed still sent a shock through him. Cassandra had actually done it. After he faked his death, she had launched a campaign of revenge. A revenge carried out entirely for him. His feelings were a complicated mix of awe and unease. He had guessed, but he never thought she'd actually go through with it. Seeing the surprise on his face, Sylvia knew that telling him this was only scoring points for Cassandra in his mind. But what choice did she have? Refusing to tell him wouldn't drive them apart. Even with amnesia, he kept saying he was willing. She would rather tell him the unvarnished truth. At least then, she wouldn't be lying to him. Maybe that would earn her some points. The atmosphere turned heavy. Sylvia put down her glass and watched him. The afternoon sun streamed through the window, bathing him in a soft glow, making him seem perfect, untouchable. No matter how many times she looked at him, she felt that same pull. After everything, she still couldn't let go. Being with him had become an obsession. Even after watching Cassandra marry his ghost, she couldn't bring herself to give up. She still dreamed of the two of them, laughing in a quiet courtyard, spending the rest of their lives together. But now, that was just a fantasy, and the reality was impossible to accept. Now it's your turn to tell me, she said, her voice a soft whisper. Liam snapped back to the present. He nodded, met her gaze, and told her the truth. Cassandra, she's pregnant. Bang. Sylvia slammed her hand on the table, her face a mask of utter shock. Their table was in the corner, but the repeated disturbances had almost desensitized the other patrons. A few glanced over, but most ignored them. The sharp noise, however, startled Liam. He looked at her, confused. Sylvia's mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. She seemed to be in a daze. Slowly, she sank back in her chair, muttering to herself. No wonder. No wonder she went through with that wedding. So that's why. That's why. Her eyes were unfocused, staring at her plate as she shook her head over and over. Liam had no idea she would react this way, but right now, he was more preoccupied with what she'd told him. The Landon family was gone, destroyed by the thorns. He wondered why Sylvia was still here, but then again, even a bankrupt great family could afford a plane ticket. The Shaws had likely suffered a similar, if less final, fate. Regardless, her family had once saved his life. Seeing her in this state, a pang of pity stirred within him. He was about to say something when her head snapped up, her eyes wide and locked on his. If that were the case, I would have married you too. Does she think she's the only one who could be devoted? If it were me, I would have done the exact same thing. A crazed look had entered her eyes. Liam frowned. What are you talking about? The wedding. I'm saying I would have married you two. Sylvia's gaze was feverish. She finally understood why Cassandra had so resolutely walked down that aisle to marry a dead man. It was because she was pregnant. If she had been pregnant, she wouldn't have hesitated for a second, either. Seeing Liam's confusion, Sylvia suddenly called his name. Liam. Yes. Do you trust me? From the moment I knew you had amnesia, I haven't told you a single lie. So you believe me, right? Faced with her intense stare, Liam wanted to say that he didn't trust anyone, but her mental state was worrying him. A cornered person was capable of anything, and now he had a weakness. He couldn't let anything happen to Cassandra, so he fudged it. I guess so. His non-answer seemed to be all the encouragement she needed. She stared at him for a long moment, a strange, unreadable smile playing on her lips. Good. As long as you believe me. All it takes is a pregnancy to make him compromise. She thought, I know what to do now. Completely bewildered by her cryptic words, Liam glanced at the time. It had been 20 minutes since Cassandra had left. She was probably stewing in the black car outside the restaurant. He couldn't let her lose control, not wanting to linger. He called the waiter over and paid the bill. Ms. Shaw, I have the answers I need. I'm leaving now. Let's not contact each other again. His words were final, leaving her no room for argument. But he had underestimated her obsession. Watching his retreating back, Sylvia pieced everything together. From that moment on, she decided she would no longer be passive. For too long, she had waited for him to come to her willingly. But waiting makes you miss your chance. She had already lost too many opportunities. But now she thought she had found the way to make him compromise. She picked up her phone and typed a message. Get the item from the locked drawer in my bedroom. Bring it to me. Back in the car, the atmosphere was dangerously heavy. Cassandra sat silently in the back, her face an icy mask. The low pressure felt like a physical weight pressing down on Liam. Haley had discreetly raised the partition between the front and back seats, leaving the two of them in the small, enclosed space. The car started moving. Cassandra didn't speak. Liam didn't either. He felt a stir of emotion thinking about what she had done for him after his fake death, but he didn't know how to thank her. The oppressive silence lasted for a full 5 minutes. Cassandra's expression grew darker and darker. Finally, she couldn't hold it in any longer. Did you have a nice chat? She asked, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Liam flinched. He knew she was jealous. We were just talking about old times, he said quickly. Cassandra exploded. What's there to talk about? If you wanted to know something, why couldn't you ask me? Why did you have to go see her? Because you don't seem capable of telling the unvarnished truth, he thought. He rubbed his nose awkwardly, but didn't say it out loud. Instead, he looked at her, his expression serious. Cassandra, thank you. The sudden sincerity made her freeze. She looked at him, startled, the icy wall around her instantly melting. Thank me for what? Liam's voice was earnest. Thank you for clearing away the obstacles for me after I fell into the ocean. He had gone to see Sylvia to ask about her, staring at his serious face. A wave of warmth spread through Cassandra's chest, rushing up to her cheeks and blooming into a soft, deep blush. It was nothing, she said, turning her face away to hide her blush. I love you. I'd do anything for you. The meaning behind her words was unmistakable. She had always been like this, unabashed in her declarations, her world revolving only around him. She had even done so much for him after he was presumed dead. The weight of that devotion settled heavily on Liam. He glanced at her profile, so perfect against the backdrop of the passing scenery. In that moment, Liam felt a sudden sense of release. What was he even worrying about? He was about to be a father. His wife was right beside him. They had a marriage license. They were a legal couple. Whatever had happened in the past was in the past. Fate had woven their lives together. So, maybe it was time to just be together. He didn't say anything more. He simply lifted his hand and gently covered hers where it rested on the seat. The warmth of his palm, The slightly rough texture of his skin against the back of her hand made her flinch. She turned, a look of surprise on her face. By then, Liam had already turned to look out the window. It felt like coming full circle. Gazing at his profile, Cassandra smiled and turned her hand over, lacing her fingers with his. 10 fingers intertwined. They rode the rest of the way in silence. The courses at Oxford weren't demanding, and he could go home right after class. For Liam, school was just something to do, a daily diversion. When the car stopped, Haley got out and opened the door for Cassandra. As they stepped out, their hands were still joined. Seeing their intimacy, Haley felt a knot tighten in her stomach. The sweeter things were between them, the more she feared the inevitable fallout when the lie was exposed. Watching them walk into the mansion, Haley took a deep breath and headed for Evelyn's room on the second floor. "I'm so bored." The moment she opened the door, she was greeted by Riley Thorne's dramatic sigh. Cassandra's sister was sprawled on the sofa, head in her hands. "Evelyn, why can't I go out? I came all the way to the UK, and I haven't seen anything." Evelyn's eye twitched. "Miss Riley, please don't even think about it. Right now, what's happening with your sister and Mr. Lynn is the most important thing. You can't go out and risk complicating things." No kidding, Evelyn thought. With Riley's personality, she'd spill the beans in 5 minutes flat. The fragile peace between Cassandra and Liam would shatter. Right now, they were just trying to get through each day without disaster. Evelyn could only pray the truth wouldn't come out for a long, long time. Seeing the grave expression on Haley's face as she closed the door, Evelyn's heart clenched. "Haley, did they find out?" Haley shook her head. "Oh, thank God." Evelyn sighed in relief. "What a mess." Haley's face was pale. "Evelyn, maybe we should just tell her. We can't keep hiding this forever. It's almost been 2 months. Soon, she'll start showing." "We can't." Evelyn shook her head vehemently. "Mr. Lynn probably only married her because he thinks she's pregnant. If we tell her now, she'll have a complete meltdown. Then what do we do? You have no idea how nervous I get just being around them." Haley couldn't hold it in any longer. Witnessing their fragile happiness day after day was exhausting. She sank onto the sofa. "Maybe we should just tell them. They seem to be getting along well now. If they knew, maybe it wouldn't be so bad." "That's exactly why we can't tell them," Evelyn countered. "We all know Mr. Lynn agreed to this because of the baby. If they find out, it'll all fall apart again. And your sister will punish us both. Can you handle her wrath?" As the two started to argue, Riley timidly raised her hand. "Evelyn, Haley, I think maybe we should tell Liam." "Why?" "See? Miss Riley agrees with me." Evelyn and Haley both turned to her. Riley smacked her lips thoughtfully. "I don't think Liam is an irresponsible person. And we had good intentions when we started this. My sister's temper is explosive. I think we should tell Liam first." "Yes, that's exactly what I mean." Haley nodded vigorously. "Evelyn, if he was willing to get a marriage license just because she was pregnant, it means he's not a bad guy. And we all know Cassandra is in the dark about this, too. No matter what, he wouldn't take it out on her." After a long, winding road, they had finally circled back to a sensible conclusion. Evelyn had to admit she hadn't expected the normally flighty Riley to cut to the heart of the matter so clearly. "All right," Evelyn sighed, looking at the time. "If we're going to do this, I'll be the one to tell him. But it can't be today. I'll find a time to talk to him privately soon." "Okay, deal. Would you like some afternoon tea? I have some time. I can make it for you." After helping Cassandra settle onto a chair, Liam glanced at the clock. It was 3:30. Cassandra, who had been about to refuse, suddenly perked up when she heard he was offering to make it himself. She nodded eagerly. "I'm free, too. I'll help you. We can make it together." No. Liam grew instantly tense, gently guiding her back down. "You're too precious right now. This is something I can handle. You just wait here." It was rare to hear him be so protective. Cassandra was thrilled, but she put on a slightly pouty face. "I'm not that fragile. I was working out at home while you were in class." "Exactly. Which means you've already hit your exercise quota for the day and need to rest." Liam smiled, patting her head gently. His voice grew even softer. "Be good. Just wait here for a little bit. I'll be quick." But Cassandra had no desire to be separated from him. She grabbed his arm, her expression stubborn. "Then have the staff bring the things in here. You can make it in the bedroom." Liam sighed. "Okay, I'll go tell them to bring the equipment." Cassandra nodded obediently, watching with wide eyes from the sofa as Liam called a maid to bring in all the baking tools and ingredients from the kitchen. "Now that you're pregnant, you should only have sweets in moderation. I'll cut up some fruit for a salad too." Liam murmured to himself as he started measuring flour. Cassandra sat on the sofa opposite him, her gaze fixed on him, full of adoration. Watching him crack an egg with one hand, she could tell he cooked for himself often. This was the first time they had ever been so harmonious, so peaceful. Cassandra felt a wave of emotion wash over her. She propped her elbow on the armrest of the sofa, resting her chin in her palm. "If I had known that seeing Sylvia would make you think things through," she murmured, "I would have had her kidnapped and brought here ages ago." Liam was using an electric mixer to beat the eggs, and the machine was loud. He didn't quite catch what she said. "What?" he asked, pausing the mixer. "Nothing." Cassandra quickly shook her head, turning away shyly. "You'd better hurry up." "I'm hungry," she said with a playful pout. This time, Liam didn't argue. He just smiled warmly. "Yes, ma'am." A blush crept up Cassandra's cheeks to the tips of her ears. She let out a mock huff, but her heart was hammering against her ribs. This was too good. If he never regained his memory, if things could just stay like this, it would be perfect. But their past was a ticking time bomb between them. Cassandra didn't know when it would go off, but in this moment, she felt happier than she had ever been. Afternoon tea wasn't complicated to prepare. Liam quickly whipped up a strawberry mousse cake, a fruit salad, and poured a glass of milk, all part of the daily nutritional requirements Evelyn had laid out for a pregnant woman. Seeing his perfectly made cake, Cassandra was surprised. "Didn't you say you used to eat mostly fast food? When did you learn to bake a cake?" Every question was a test. This time, she was probing to see if he had done this for someone else. Liam was quick on his feet. "Did I? I don't really remember. I learned this online recently. Want to try?" Cassandra nodded, accepting his explanation. She picked up a fork and took a small bite. The soft texture melted on her tongue, the silky cream sliding smoothly down her throat. It wasn't Star Chef quality, but it was close. More importantly, he had made it for her. "How is it?" "Delicious." Cassandra praised him without reservation, taking another small, elegant bite. Watching her eat so eagerly, Liam chuckled. "I'm glad you like it. If you want, I can make it for you every day from now on." "Really?" Cassandra froze, her fork halfway to her mouth. She stared at him, stunned that he would make such an offer. "Yes." Liam nodded, pushing the glass of milk closer to her. "And remember to drink all of this. 1 glass every day. I'll be watching." Staring at the swirling white liquid, Cassandra felt a prickle of unease. Something was off. Ever since his conversation with Sylvia, he seemed to have changed. She couldn't quite put her finger on it. And while she loved this new side of him, a part of her felt deeply unsettled. The happier she was, the harder she would fall when it all came crashing down. She ate her cake in silence, her gaze lowered. "Liam," she said, her voice heavy, "can I ask you a question?" "Go ahead." Cassandra hesitated for a moment, her voice low and halting. If someone treated you terribly at first, but then she realized her mistake and tried to make up for it, would you forgive her?" She was, of course, talking about herself, about all the things she had done to him. He hadn't expected a question like this. Liam frowned. He didn't know what answer would satisfy her, and he was afraid of saying the wrong thing and triggering another emotional spiral. After thinking it over, he chose a neutral response. "I guess it would depend on the situation." At his words, Cassandra's beautiful brow furrowed. Fearing her mood was about to shift, Liam quickly changed the subject. "Actually, Cassandra, there's something I want to talk to you about." Her thoughts were interrupted. She looked up. "What is it?" "I was wondering, could you maybe not have me watch 24/7? Liam finally said, choosing to be direct. "I don't like the feeling, and even though we're a married couple now, we should still give each other some space." His words hit her like a bomb. She bit her lip and looked away, instinctively denying it. "I don't have you watch 24/7. The lie died on her tongue. He had just met with Sylvia, and she had shown up moments later. Liam wasn't an idiot. He knew. The atmosphere turned instantly awkward. Cassandra cleared her throat and mumbled, "Fine. Just because you made me this cake. I'll agree to it." "Good." A smile spread across Liam's face. He nodded. "Hurry up and eat. When you're done, I'll give you a back massage." "Okay." The next morning, Liam got into Haley's car, as usual, and headed to campus. His relationship with Cassandra had softened considerably. He had seen her devotion, and he wasn't made of stone. If they were going to be together, he would be serious about it. He had decided to try and accept her. As for the future, he would cross that bridge when he came to it. For several days, life fell into a routine. He went to school. He came home. He took care of Cassandra. He was busy, but it was a peaceful kind of busy. Then, on Wednesday, after his afternoon class, he was walking toward the campus gate when Sylvia blocked his path. "Liam, I need to talk to you," she said. She was dressed in a black coat, her beautiful face devoid of emotion. Behind her stood 2 imposing bodyguards in black suits. They looked like they meant business. A sense of dread washed over Liam. "Ms. Shaw," he said coolly, I believe I made myself clear last time. There's nothing left between us. Don't make me use force right here, Sylvia said, her voice low and threatening, glancing at the students milling around them. Liam ignored her. He was married to Cassandra now. He wouldn't have any intimate contact with other women. He started to walk past her, but Sylvia wasn't giving up. Liam, are you sure you want to just walk away? He paused for a fraction of a second, but didn't turn around. Sylvia's patience snapped. Liam, she yelled, stopping her foot in frustration. What are you two standing there for? Grab him. In broad daylight, on a university campus. Liam couldn't believe she was this bold. But two bodyguards were no match for him. With a quick sidestep and a sharp elbow strike, he neutralized both of them in seconds, pushing them back without causing serious harm. To onlookers, it probably just looked like a minor scuffle. Several foreign students stopped to watch, pulling out their phones to record. Awesome, dude. One of them yelled, giving him a thumbs up. Chinese Kung Fu. Sylvia's face turned livid. Liam, I just wanted to invite you to dinner. You don't have to be so cruel. Huh? Cruel? Liam couldn't hold back a scoff. He turned to face her. Ms. Shaw, have you taken a look at what you're doing? How am I the cruel one here? Sylvia faltered for a second. Then her voice turned low and conspiratorial. Aren't you interested in what happened to your biological grandmother? That got his attention. Seeing his brow furrow, Sylvia knew she had him. I thought you might be, she said smugly, crossing her arms. Lawrence Landon asked my father for help treating her. I know a few things about what happened. Her posture screamed confidence, as if to say, beg me. Beg me to have dinner with you, and I'll tell you everything. But her calculations were off. Liam just laughed, a short, dismissive sound. Is that supposed to be important? What? You think I'm some kind of traditionalist who needs to map out his entire family tree before he can be at peace? Life was for living. You do what makes you happy. Why complicate it with all that? He'd only gone back to the Landon family in the first place to use their power as a shield against Cassandra's clutches. If it weren't for her, he would never have bothered with a place like that. Sylvia stared at him, shocked. You don't want to know about your grandmother? What if I do? What if I don't? Liam smiled faintly. If she had raised me from birth, our bond would be strong, and there'd be no need to search. But she's a generation removed, a complete stranger in my life. Why would I go looking for her? He paused, his expression hardening. Or do you think I'm just that cheap, Miss Shaw? His words left Sylvia speechless. She had to admit, his ruthlessness exceeded her wildest imagination. But if he was this cold to everyone, why was he so different with Cassandra? The thought made her burn with jealousy. Just as Liam was about to turn and leave for good, Sylvia blurted out, wait. He turned back, his impatience now clear on his face. Let's have one more meal together. Sylvia's voice softened, laced with a mix of nostalgia and pleading. Just for old time's sake. For the time you live with my family. One last meal, and then I'll go back to my country. I'll never show up here again. She sounded like she was describing a deathbed farewell. But she wasn't lying. Liam had stayed with the Shaw family as a child, and they had treated him well. Now that she had put it that way, refusing would be ungracious. Liam considered it for a moment. All right, wait here. I need to let them know. Them, of course, meant Cassandra. He had decided to make it work, and Cassandra had agreed to give him his freedom. She was trusting him, and he needed to give her peace of mind in return. He walked over to the black car, waiting outside the gate. The driver's side window was already down. Haley, he said, gesturing for her to lower the back window as well. Tell your boss I'm having dinner with a friend tonight. I'll get a cab back myself later. A friend? You mean Sylvia Shaw? Haley's gaze flicked to Sylvia, who was standing a short distance behind Liam. Her expression soured. Liam nodded. Yeah, I have something to take care of. Just let Cassandra know. I'll be back soon. This was like asking her to walk into a minefield. You should probably tell her yourself, Haley said quickly. I don't dare. Don't worry. Our relationship has improved a lot. I'll explain everything to her when I get back. Fine. After a long silence, Haley finally gave in. Her eyes darted to the backpack he'd left on the back seat. Take your bag with you. I don't want to be responsible for half of your belongings. The excuse was flimsy. Liam paused, then grabbed the backpack. Seeing how focused Haley was on the bag, a knot of suspicion formed in his gut. He slung the backpack over his right shoulder and walked back to Sylvia. Let's go. But I'm choosing the restaurant. No problem. Sylvia agreed readily, signaling for her bodyguards to bring the car around. Liam got in with her. To avoid any trouble later, he picked a Chinese restaurant not far from the campus. After they were seated at a table by the window, he laid out his terms. Let's get one thing straight. After this meal, we don't contact each other again. I don't want Cassandra getting jealous because of you. Of course. Sylvia's agreement was swift, but the smile didn't reach her eyes. She stared at him intently. About your grandmother. Even if you don't want to know, I still want to tell you. Consider it a thank you for having dinner with me. She smiled faintly and picked up the teapot, pouring him a cup. The year I met Lawrence Landon, he asked my father to treat your grandmother. She was having severe mental problems. None of the medication was working, and my father couldn't do anything for her either. After that, she just disappeared. Sylvia spoke softly, and Liam listened intently. Disappeared? Why would she disappear? I don't know. My father said he couldn't save her, that the problem was with her brainstem. Lawrence took her back to the Landon estate. I never saw her there. He told everyone she was ill and couldn't see visitors, but that he was taking good care of her. I don't know the specifics. Liam frowned. He remembered when he first returned to the Landon estate. Lawrence had taken him to the basement. He'd seen a skeletal figure there, and Lawrence had told him it was his grandmother. If he was taking such good care of her, why would she be so emaciated? What was her illness? Brain atrophy. It's irreversible. There's no medical cure for it. But with proper care, the symptoms are similar to Alzheimer's. That confirmed it. His grandmother hadn't been cared for. She'd been imprisoned, abused, and tortured by Lawrence Landon until she was reduced to that state. The thought filled Liam with a cold, slow-burning rage. What kind of hatred could drive a man to do something so monstrous? He suddenly had an urgent desire to confront Lawrence, to demand an explanation. Liam said nothing, his face a neutral mask. He glanced out the window and saw a black car parked just outside. He frowned. His gaze fell to his backpack. After a long moment of silence, he abruptly stood up. Ms. Shaw, please enjoy your meal. I need to use the restroom. Sylvia was more than happy for him to go. Of course, she said, stirring the steaming seafood chowder in her bowl with a smile. Go ahead. I'll wait for you here. Liam gave a nod and walked toward the restroom, backpack in hand. As soon as he was gone, Sylvia retrieved a small capsule from her purse and, with a swift, subtle movement, dropped it into Liam's bowl of chowder. Meanwhile, Liam entered a stall and locked the door. He opened his backpack and rummaged through it. In a side pocket, tucked into the lining, he found it, a small, sophisticated listening device. There was no doubt in his mind who had put it there. Who else but Cassandra would do something so invasive? He knew Haley's insistence that he take the backpack was suspicious. So much for trust. Cassandra had never stopped watching him. A surge of hot, suffocating anger washed over him. The feeling of being betrayed was a stab to the heart. He had told her clearly yesterday that he wouldn't mess around, that he would give her the security she craved, and she had agreed to his face. Now this. He felt like a lab rat trapped in a glass box, his every move observed, his entire life orchestrated by a puppeteer just beyond the glass. Take the pregnancy. He hadn't been remotely prepared to be a father. She had just dropped the news on him like it was nothing. Yes, he played a part in it, but wasn't her possessiveness the root cause of all their problems? He had never wanted a child at this stage of his life. And now, she was still spying on him, derailing his plans without a second thought. In that moment, Liam felt utterly tormented. No matter what he did, something always jumped out to block his path. He wasn't a saint. How could he possibly be expected to handle everything perfectly? It was psychological torture. Expressionless, he tucked the bug back into its hiding place and flushed the toilet. After taking a deep breath to compose himself, he walked out of the restroom and back to the dining area. As he approached the table, he saw that two more people had joined Sylvia in their corner. It was Leo and Chloe. They were in the middle of a conversation with Sylvia, but when they saw him approaching, their faces lit up with pure, unadulterated joy. Bro! Chloe shot to her feet, her hand flying to her mouth as her eyes welled up with tears. Leo also scrambled to his feet, his own eyes red as he wiped away a tear. Liam, I knew it. I knew you were still alive. Across the table, Sylvia sat frozen, her face a thundercloud of fury. Chloe, I told you the guy in the video was him. See? It really is. Leo recovered first, sliding over to make room and beaming at Chloe. Liam. Chloe rushed forward and threw her arms around him in a tight hug. The sudden embrace left Liam stunned. Sylvia was right there, watching. She thought he had amnesia. Even if he knew them, he couldn't let on. He was so close to getting her to finally give up. He couldn't screw it up now. Seeing Liam's silence, Leo panicked and quickly pulled Chloe back. Chloe, let him go. You forgot. He has amnesia, he hissed, giving her a pointed look. Chloe snapped out of it, hastily wiping her tears. Right, I got carried away. I forgot. Liam, I'm Chloe. I'm your sister. Let's sit down and talk. She took his arm and guided him to a seat. Liam didn't resist. Being alone with Sylvia had been awkward anyway. He'd gotten the information he wanted and was trying to think of an excuse to leave. Now, it seemed he wouldn't have to. As Liam sat down, Leo grinned sheepishly, scratching his head. He sat down next to them and waved a waiter over. "Excuse me. 2 more sets of silverware, please." And just like that, the intimate dinner for 2 that Sylvia had fought so hard for became a party of 4. Sylvia's face was so dark, it was practically black. But Leo and Chloe's attention was entirely on Liam, and Liam, in turn, was looking at them with genuine curiosity. How did you guys know I was here?" "Your phone," Chloe said immediately, pulling out her own. She opened a video and showed it to him. "Look, bro, someone posted a video of your fight at the campus gate on the student forum. It went viral. All the exchange students are talking about you." "What? That fast?" Liam stared at the screen, where a video of his earlier, rather dramatic scuffle was playing on a loop. "It was a little embarrassing." "Leo's the one with the sharp eyes," Chloe continued. "Everyone in the comments was guessing who you were, but he took one look and said it was you, so we just started asking around until we found this place." "I see. Bro, it's a miracle you're alive." Leo blurted out. "You have no idea how worried we were after you." "You know." He trailed off, catching himself just in time. Chloe quickly changed the subject, picking up her glass. "Let's not talk about the past. We're all at the same school now. Let's treat today as a celebration for my brother." Right. A celebration." Leo agreed, raising his own glass. "A celebration for Liam. He survived a great disaster and is destined for great fortune." Liam's mouth twitched. He raised his glass and clinked it against theirs. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw Sylvia's impossibly dark expression, and he had to suppress a laugh. He couldn't be blamed for this. He had come to dinner. Who could have predicted these 2 would show up? As he put his glass down, the waiter arrived with fresh dishes. Leo was in high spirits. "Bring us 2 bottles of red wine. It's on me tonight." He then noticed the bowl of chowder in front of Liam's empty seat and waved a dismissive hand at the waiter. "This one's cold. Take it away. My boy doesn't eat cold chowder." "That's right," Chloe added with a flourish. "Take all of this away. The food's cold. Bring us a fresh spread. My boy Leo's got money to burn." She pointed at the entire table, signaling for the waiter to clear everything. Sylvia looked like she was about to explode. The golden opportunity she had orchestrated had been so effortlessly sabotaged by these 2 clowns. How could she possibly swallow this insult? What is the meaning of this uninvited intrusion? Sylvia finally spoke, her voice laced with venom. Her question made Leo and Chloe pause. Chloe's expression soured. Her brother might have amnesia, but she didn't. She remembered perfectly well that Sylvia was one of the people who had driven him into the ocean. There was no way she could be polite to her face. But with Liam right there, she refrained from cursing her out, opting instead for a saccharine, passive-aggressive tone. "Ms. Shaw, finding our brother is such a big deal. Why didn't you tell us? Were you trying to keep him all to yourself?" "Yeah, Ms. Shaw, that's not very cool of you," Leo chimed in, catching her drift. "We're Liam's best friends. We were heartbroken when we thought he was gone." "What do you mean, uninvited?" The accusation of eating alone, of being selfishly possessive, completely shut Sylvia down. She couldn't believe how bold these 2 had become in just a few months. But with Liam present, in a dining room full of onlookers, she didn't want to cause a scene. After a moment of internal struggle, she swallowed her rage. She fixed her gaze on Liam. "Liam, this dinner doesn't count. We'll go out again another time." Liam was about to ask why it didn't count when Leo grabbed his arm. As Sylvia stood up and swept out of the restaurant, Leo shot Chloe a look. "Bro, don't go after her." "Chloe and I just found you. We're not letting you go until we're all drunk tonight." Chloe, receiving the signal, immediately raised her glass with a cheer. "That's right. To getting drunk." Liam sighed. He watched Sylvia disappear through the restaurant door, then picked up his own glass and clinked it against theirs. A few glasses of wine later, Chloe's cheeks were flushed. She looked at Liam, her words slurring slightly. "Brother, you should stay away from Sylvia Shaw. She's not a good person." Leo's heart jumped. He was about to smooth things over, but then he saw the frown on Liam's face and couldn't stop himself. "Liam, do you trust us?" He might not trust others, but Leo and Chloe were the ones who had helped him escape. How could he not trust them? He knew they had more to say. He put down his glass and offered a small smile. "Of course." Leo hesitated, then finally let it out. "The thing is, Liam, you might not remember because of the amnesia, but Sylvia was one of the main reasons it happened in the first place." She's very manipulative, brother," Chloe added, nodding. "If you can, you should really stay away from her." She trailed off, then mumbled as if to herself, "If you really have to compare, I think even Ms. Thorne is better than her." Liam was floored. He never would have imagined that in just a few short months, Leo and Chloe's opinion of Cassandra would have changed so dramatically. What makes you say that? He asked, genuinely curious. Ms. Thorne.She. Chloe started to explain, but Leo cut her off. Chloe, he said sharply, you're drunk. Maybe you should take a break. We can talk about this when you're sober. If it were anyone else, it might be fine, but bringing up painful memories for someone with amnesia could be dangerous. Now is not the time. Chloe snapped back to her senses. All right, we'll talk tomorrow. My head's all fuzzy. It's like a bowl of mush. It was obvious they were hiding something. Liam felt a pang of frustration. He took a deep breath, his hand tightening on the strap of his backpack, where the bug was hidden. Actually, he said softly, I don't have amnesia. The words hung in the air. Leo and Chloe, who had been about to change the subject, froze. They both turned to stare at him. No amnesia. But brother Ms. Thorne both told us you had amnesia. Faced with their shock, Liam decided there was no point in hiding it anymore. His original plan was to deal with the Landon and Shaw families himself before revealing the truth. But after his meeting with Sylvia, he knew Cassandra had already done the heavy lifting for him. He had faked his amnesia to protect himself and his friends. Now that the Landon family was gone and Sylvia was reduced to accosting him on campus, it was clear she no longer had the power to confront Cassandra directly. There was no need for the charade. The amnesia was a lie, Liam said, his voice low and clear. Fleeing here from the ocean was just a way to get Sylvia to lower her guard. He said it casually, as if it were no big deal. Chloe, however, shot to her feet. Her shock turned to elation, then to a flood of emotion that left her speechless. She covered her mouth, tears of joy streaming down her face. Leo, true to form, was less reserved. He jumped up from his chair. That's amazing, Liam. Chloe and I were so worried. We were walking on eggshells around you, scared to say the wrong thing. His voice was so loud it drew looks from the surrounding tables. He sheepishly sat back down, scratching his head. So, how did you get away? He asked in a much lower voice. I bought a portable oxygen tank beforehand, Liam explained with a small smile. It was tricky, though. Right after I jumped, the Landon family's ships locked down the entire area. I was hiding on the seabed, trying to figure out how to break through their perimeter, when suddenly they all just pulled back. They gave me the opening I needed to swim out. I know about that, Chloe exclaimed, raising her hand. It was Ms. Thorne. She put pressure on the maritime search and rescue teams to back off. She told them not to look for you, that you would come back to her. Her voice grew quieter as she spoke, and by the end, she couldn't quite meet his eyes. Leo finished the thought for her. Bro, after you got away, why didn't you contact us? We were devastated. And Ms. Thorne, she kept blaming herself. Liam froze. She blamed herself? Yeah. Leo nodded. The Thorne family sent out dozens of boats, but they couldn't find you. Ms. Thorne thought it was her fault that the rescue was delayed. She went kind of crazy, locked herself in her room, wouldn't eat or drink for days. Liam stared, utterly stunned. He had never imagined Cassandra's feelings for him ran this deep, that they went so far beyond anything he could have conceived. He had only faked his death, and she had fallen apart this completely. His eyes darkened, and his hand tightened on the hidden compartment of his backpack. His voice came out laced with a bitter edge. I just didn't want you guys to get hurt because of me anymore. So that was it. Liam really did see them as his closest friends. The entire fake death escape was just an elaborate act for the benefit of their disgusting enemies. They all wanted him, and only his death would make them stop. Leo and Chloe understood the logic instantly. But it was an extreme, desperate measure, the kind of thing only Liam would be capable of pulling off. Brother, Chloe began, her voice hesitant despite her overwhelming emotion. You know, that's not the right way to think about it. Leo and I were always worried about you, but we were also worried we were just dragging you down. But when you're facing enemies, you're supposed to stick together. I'm not afraid to die. We might not be at the ride or die stage yet, Leo added, speaking from the heart, his expression deadly serious. But if I got you hurt, Liam, I'd never forgive myself. But dying? Who's scared of that? Most of the money you gave me, I sent to my mom. She bought a few nice houses back home with it. More money than I could have earned in 100 lifetimes. They're set. They don't have any right to tell me what to do anymore. Their words hit Liam like a physical blow. He had never expected them to see him as so important. He had given them things, yes, but his initial motive had been to use them. In return, they had offered him their unguarded hearts. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry, making friends with two people who didn't seem to have a single cynical bone in their bodies. He wasn't sure if it was a blessing or a curse. Everyone's intentions were good. They just had different ways of showing it. Leo, Money isn't more important to your parents than you are, Chloe said, disagreeing with him gently. If you were gone, what good would all that money be? Leo, however, seemed to have made his peace with it. Nah, my family has been pushing me to be some kind of superstar my whole life. After all these years, I've finally figured out what's important and what isn't. I guess you're right. Every family's got its own baggage, Chloe sighed, her gaze turning inward. Sometimes I hate these blood ties. I think, if only I wasn't his real sister, then I wouldn't be his weakness. But now that it's out, and it can't be changed, all I can do is face it. Their conversation, their raw vulnerability, reached Liam. He looked at them, a sense of wonder washing over him. In that moment, he felt he wasn't even as brave as Chloe. Faced with the reality of their connection, his first instinct had been to run. Hers was to face it head-on. He couldn't keep running. Maybe this world wasn't so evil after all. Maybe he really could find good friends. On that ordinary afternoon, Liam finally completely let down his guard. You're right, he said, his voice quiet but firm, his hand still clutching his backpack. I can't keep running away. Chloe had only been speaking her mind and didn't fully grasp the depth of his declaration. She instinctively tried to soften her stance. Well, running isn't always so bad. Everyone thinks differently. But brother, about Ms. Thorne. After you jumped, she blamed herself for a long, long time. And then, she married you. The first part of her sentence had been a clear attempt to comfort him, but the second half was a sharp left turn into utter confusion. Liam's mind snapped to attention. Married me? He asked, bewildered. I jumped into the ocean. How could she marry me? She had a statue of you made. On September 1st, she invited all the big families. Leo and I were there as guests, right, Leo? Yeah, man. We were all shocked when she said she was marrying you, Leo confirmed. I never knew she was that devoted. Chloe and Leo laid out the entire story of what had happened after he jumped. The account left Liam reeling. He knew his memory wasn't faulty. He hadn't lost it. So where did this marriage to Cassandra come from? Hearing the full story, it all clicked into place. The way Cassandra had described their wedding felt so real, because it was real. She had actually walked down the aisle with him. He had faked his own death. She had been standing there, facing a dead man. And even then, she had insisted on marrying him. Liam had never imagined Cassandra's devotion, or obsession, could reach such a terrifying height. So her kindness toward him hadn't been an act. All her gestures weren't just fleeting whims. She was serious. Liam felt a restless energy surge through him. He shot to his feet. The sudden movement startled Chloe and Leo. Brother, what's wrong? Liam, the night's still young. Where are you going? Something's come up. I have to go back. We'll hang out another time, Liam said, grabbing his backpack and rushing out of the restaurant. Chloe started to follow, but Leo grabbed her arm, shaking his head. Chloe, let it be alone for a bit. Hearing all this, it's probably a lot for him to handle. That's why I'm worried. Leo, let me go. I need to check on him. You idiot. Leo tapped her on the head. Think about it. If we know he's alive, how do you think we found out? You don't think she already knows? Understanding dawned on Chloe's face. Oh, right. He must be going to find Ms. Thorne. Okay, we can meet up with him another time. We're at the same school. There'll be plenty of chances. Yeah. In the car on the way back, Liam's mind was a maelstrom. Cassandra's love was too fierce, so overwhelming he didn't dare accept it. He couldn't wrap his head around it. Facing a dead man, she had still put on a wedding dress and married him. Did she have any idea what that meant? What people would say? He didn't know if Cassandra knew she was pregnant at the time, but staging such a massive, public wedding. She was a thorn. Had she really thrown her own reputation to the wind? Just as a roar of frustration was about to erupt from his chest, Liam froze. He instinctively clutched his heart. No, this logic was wrong. Why was he automatically thinking about things from her perspective? He had never agreed to any of this. Getting legally married was only because she was pregnant. Everything that had happened, no matter how much she had done, was nothing more than her own one-sided obsession, right? By the time the car reached the estate, Liam had completely cooled down. Whatever the case, they were legally married now. The process had been a chaotic blur, but everything Cassandra had done for him was a fact. As for the pregnancy, that suddenly seemed less important. He got out the entrance and stepped through the main gates, experiencing for the first time the downside of living at Black Lake Manor. The road to the villa was too damn long. Without a car to take him directly, it took Liam a full 15 minutes to walk from the entrance to the front door of the house. Next time, I'll just have Haley wait and pick me up, he thought with a sigh as he stepped inside. He didn't see Cassandra in the living room. Instead, Evelyn Reed was sitting there. She stood up the moment he entered. Mr. Lynn, Miss Thorne isn't feeling well. She's already gone to her room to rest. She explained, glancing toward the bedroom door. If it's not too urgent, would it be convenient to come with me for a moment? There's something I'd like to talk to you about. Seeing her hesitant expression, Liam frowned slightly. Fine. He dropped his backpack and followed Evelyn into the elevator. They rode up in silence. Evelyn kept her head down, wringing her hands in front of her, lost in thought. Seeing her like this, Liam had a good idea of what was coming. If it was Evelyn, it had to be about Cassandra's pregnancy. They entered the second-floor study. After closing the door, Evelyn gestured toward the sofa and went to pour Liam a cup of tea. Once he was seated, Liam cut straight to the chase. Miss Reed, whatever you have to say, just say it. She hadn't expected him to be so direct. Evelyn hesitated for a moment before forcing the words out. It's about Miss Thorne. She sat down across from him, carefully watching his reaction. Once she started this, there was no going back. But keeping it bottled up wasn't an option either. She had spent days agonizing over how to bring this up with him. Today, she had finally worked up the courage. But even with all her mental preparation, now that the moment was here, she was still instinctively nervous. Their relationship had only just started to mend. Seeing Evelyn's reluctance, her inability to speak, Liam was now almost certain what she was going to say. To ease the tension, he glanced at her and said with a hint of amusement, "Let me guess. You're going to tell me about your lady's pregnancy, right?" In an instant, Evelyn's eyes went wide. "How did you know?" Her reaction was all the confirmation he needed. "Was it that hard to figure out?" he asked, a corner of his mouth twitching. "It's the only thing you've been scrambling around with lately. I couldn't think of anything else." Realization dawned on her. Evelyn slapped her forehead, embarrassed. "I guess that's true." Liam raised an eyebrow. "So, just say it. Don't beat around the bush." All that was left was for Evelyn to make it official. Seeing the all-knowing look in Liam's eyes, Evelyn took a deep breath, but then swerved in a different direction. "Before I say anything, I want to ask you something. What exactly are your intentions toward my lady?" "My what?" Liam didn't quite follow. "Exactly what it sounds like," Evelyn explained, her expression suddenly turning indignant. "My lady is completely devoted to you. Do you or do you not like her? Like lady, like assistant?" Liam was a true believer now. Cassandra never beat around the bush, never hid her feelings for him, and did everything in the most dramatic way possible. Evelyn was cut from the same cloth. They were both straightforward people. So Liam's answer was just as straightforward. "Of course I like her," he replied with a smile, then shot back a question of his own. "If I didn't, why would I have gotten married to her?" "You like her?" Evelyn stared, incredulous, at Liam's grinning face. "You call this liking someone?" He was acting like a fool in front of her, his smile carefree and insincere. She could see through it, but her lady couldn't. A few sweet nothings, and her lady would be floating on air. Her lady might believe it, but Evelyn Reed certainly didn't. Seeing the hostility and anger in Evelyn's eyes, Liam's smile tightened. "Then what's supposed to count as liking someone? If I didn't like her, would I have just let it slide when you knocked me out with a syringe? Would I have agreed to live here? If I didn't like her, would I come back right after class every day to wait on her hand and foot? If I didn't like her, why be sweet-talking her constantly, terrified she'll get mad?" When it came to verbal sparring, Liam hadn't lost yet. The barrage of questions left Evelyn speechless. Reminded of all that, something seemed to click for her. That's right. Before, when he was with Miss Thorne, his only thought was to escape. Now, he was following her around like a puppy every day. The two of them were inseparable, practically glued together with superglue. "So you're saying, you really do like my lady?" Evelyn asked, her brow furrowed as she studied him seriously. "Obviously." Liam nodded without hesitation. "Okay, good." Evelyn let out a sigh of relief. If he liked her, then telling him the news probably wouldn't be a disaster. The weight that had been crushing her for so long finally lifted. She looked at Liam, her expression serious. "All right, then I'll tell you the truth. Miss Thorne, she isn't pregnant." Liam wasn't particularly surprised. His conversation with Haley had already led him to suspect as much. He just needed confirmation. His reaction was so calm that Evelyn couldn't help but frown. "How come you don't seem surprised at all?" "Nothing to be surprised about," Liam said lightly. "Cassandra doesn't know she isn't pregnant, does she?" Evelyn shook her head, her face turning a little pale. "At the time, Miss Thorne was too unstable. After you jumped, she was about to kill herself to be with you. We had to make up the pregnancy story just to keep her grounded." Her words registered in Liam's mind. Even though he'd heard it once from Chloe, hearing the details again stirred an unwelcome pang of sympathy in his chest. How could any woman be so foolish, giving so much for someone who didn't deserve it? And it was because she had given so much that Liam realized just how important he was to her. In that moment, he suddenly felt that all of Cassandra's past tortures could be forgiven. Everything she had done for him after he'd faked his death. It canceled everything out. Watching Liam lost in thought, Evelyn bit her lip and spoke up. Miss Thorne doesn't know about this yet. Haley, Miss Riley, and I talked it over and decided it was best to tell you first, so we could all figure out how to tell her together. Liam snapped back to reality. What's there to figure out? Just tell her. No. Evelyn shook her head violently, her face pale as she looked at him. If Miss Thorne finds out we lied to her, Haley, Miss Riley, and I are all finished. Seeing her so terrified, Liam was suddenly reminded of the time he was trapped at Black Lake Manor. Evelyn, while tending to his wounds, had smugly told him that being noticed by her lady was a blessing. Now, the tables had turned. It was her turn to be terrified. Ah, so the blessing had arrived. He couldn't possibly let this opportunity for a little payback pass him by. So what? You're Cassandra's right and left hands, and Riley is her sister. No matter how much she punishes you, it won't be that severe. Your lady is so easy to talk to. Liam said, a gleeful, I'm just here for the show expression on his face. Evelyn, already on edge, exploded. She's easy to talk to with you. The last time Miss Riley just wiped your mouth for you, Miss Thorne almost had her shipped off to Indonesia. Liam froze. That happened. Duh. Evelyn snapped. During the reality show, when Miss Riley went for a swim with you, Miss Thorne had a yacht scrambled immediately. She couldn't wait 10 minutes, just paced back and forth on the deck, about to wear a hole right through it. That was a slight exaggeration, but Liam could certainly appreciate Evelyn's state of mind. After all, there was still a listening device hidden in his backpack. With that level of possessiveness, blowing up a building wasn't out of the question. Wait a minute, Liam frowned. That news story about the land and estate being blown up. That wasn't your lady, was it? Who else? Evelyn forced a smile that was uglier than a grimace. Miss Thorne heard you were getting engaged to Sylvia Shaw and scrambled 23 helicopters overnight. Too bad a certain someone had already skipped town. As she spoke, Evelyn shot Liam a pointed look, the implication crystal clear. I was wondering what kind of trouble the Landons had gotten into to get their house blown up. Liam's mouth twitched. He couldn't believe it was actually Cassandra. This woman was something else. Evelyn clasped her hands together, her usual cool demeanor replaced by a desperate, pleading look. Please, Liam, just say something. Let's figure out a plan, how to tell Miss Thorne about this. But Liam wasn't about to let her off the hook that easily. Not after she had mocked him before. Let me think about it. Liam propped his chin on his hand, a smug smile playing on his lips as he looked at Evelyn's hopeful face. He tapped his cheek thoughtfully. If you just tell her directly, what exactly would happen to you guys? Evelyn, who had been holding her breath in anticipation, felt a chill run down her spine. She pictured her lady's explosive rage and shivered. Probably worse than being sent to Indonesia. Hey, in that case, I'll be on the sidelines putting a good word for you. Indonesia is a nice place. Just bring a few bodyguards. It's way better than being sent to some third-world country, right? Evelyn was speechless, sending the three of them, all beautiful women, to Indonesia, picturing the looks they'd get. It would be kinder to just kill them. Evelyn lost it. How could you do this? We only lied because you faked your own death. If we had known, we never would have said it. And now you just stand there watching us face our doom, making sarcastic remarks. I don't like the sound of that, Liam said, crossing his legs and leaning back on the sofa like a king. Faking my death was my business. The lie came out of your mouths. What's it got to do with me? You. Evelyn was so furious she could barely speak, pointing a trembling finger at him. Now that you know about the lie, you're in the same boat as us. Once the truth comes out, none of us are getting away clean. She was going to die from rage. She'd been on pins and needles for days, and now he was acting like he didn't have a care in the world. Fine. Mutually assured destruction. If she was going down, she was taking everyone with her. Seeing Evelyn's defiance, Liam just shrugged. Fine by me. Go on, tell her. Or don't. Eventually, she's going to find out. And when she does, I'll be the victim. You three are the ones in it together. Then I'll just drug your food and make sure Miss Thorne gets pregnant for real. Go ahead. I'll just tell your lady that from now on, I'm cooking all her meals myself. Let's see if she'll eat anything you make. Liam laced his hands behind his head, looking like a street punk who was one step away from whistling nonchalantly. You're a monster. Evelyn was shaking with rage. She stammered for a long moment, unable to find a single comeback. As the most favored person in Cassandra's life, Liam had 1,000 ways to torture them. With just a few words, he could have her lady floating on air. If he acted even a little bit cute, Miss Thorne would be seeing stars, ready to pluck them from the sky for him. How would they fight that? It was impossible. They had no way to counterattack. They just had to take the loss. Fine. Surrender. Evelyn gritted her teeth and slumped back onto the sofa, glaring at him. Why are you targeting me? I never did anything to you. Who was it that said being noticed by your lady was a blessing? Liam smirked. Well, is it still a blessing? Evelyn froze. Good God. This was all because of one offhand comment she'd made months ago. She was speechless. Wait, are you seriously that petty? Liam propped his chin on his hand again and said in a deceptively sweet tone, How could I ever forget a thing like that? How many faces did this bastard have? Did he change them every other day? Evelyn was out of comebacks, her fire completely extinguished. Picturing her own tragic end, she caved. She swallowed her anger, leaned forward, and rubbed her hands together again, her face a mask of subservience. Liam, my dear brother, I was wrong. I apologize. I shouldn't have said that. Please, be a good man and help us come up with a plan. You're the only one who can save us now. Seeing her like this sent a wave of satisfaction through Liam. He didn't know where he'd picked up this strange habit, but he loved watching people's expressions change. The stark contrast was just so fulfilling. All right, seeing as you're so sincere. He hadn't even finished his sentence when Evelyn's eyes lit up, looking like she was about to jump for joy. Liam raised an eyebrow. Don't get so excited. This is a big deal. Even if I'm the one to break the news, it's not guaranteed I can keep Cassandra's temper in check. No, that won't happen, Evelyn said with absolute certainty. Miss Thorne loves you more than anything. As long as you plead for us, she will absolutely not punish us. Liam was skeptical. You're that sure? Of course. I'm with her every day. I know better than anyone who she likes. Fine. Liam didn't argue further. He got straight to the point. In a few days, over the weekend, you schedule an OB/GYN appointment. I'll go with Cassandra. When she finds out, we'll just say you misread the initial test results. I'll put in a good word for you on the side. Cassandra probably won't be too angry. Evelyn didn't even consider rejecting the plan. She nodded immediately. No problem. It's a deal. This weekend. We have 2 days. I'll contact the hospital Saturday morning. Okay. Leaving Evelyn's room, Liam went straight to Cassandra's bedroom. Since everyone had believed she was pregnant, her room had been moved to the first floor to avoid the strain of going up and downstairs. He opened the door to find a room pitch black. Except for the moonlight filtering through the window, there was no light at all. The room was silent. Liam saw a small lump under the covers on the bed and assumed Cassandra was asleep, so he moved quietly. After tiptoeing to shut the door, Liam was about to turn when a chilling voice suddenly spoke from behind him. You're back. It was an interrogation, the tone cold as ice. The sudden sound made Liam's heart seize. He turned gingerly toward the source of the voice. In the darkness, he could just make out a shifting shadow on the sofa. Evelyn said you were asleep, Liam replied automatically. The response he got was Cassandra's cold sneer. We're on a first-name basis now, are we? Liam scratched his head and walked toward the sofa, stopping a short distance away. A single sliver of moonlight fell there, and he could vaguely make out Cassandra's face. It was terrifyingly grim. She was wearing only a white silk slip, lounging languidly against the arm of the sofa, one hand propping up her head. Her glacial gaze was fixed on him. Liam could feel the low pressure emanating from her. Thinking back to the afternoon's events, he understood. He didn't hold back, walking around the sofa and sitting on the opposite end. Seeing him just sit down so calmly, Cassandra's face darkened further. Don't you have anything to say to me? She asked, her voice already laced with a furious, teeth-grinding edge. Liam knew what she was angry about, and frankly, he wasn't happy either. Finding the listening device in his backpack had left a sour taste in his mouth. If Cassandra hadn't agreed to his terms in the first place, the bug would be one thing, but she had clearly given her word not to spy on him, and then she had gone and done this behind his back. Saying one thing and doing another. That was what truly angered Liam. But even as angry as he was, he still considered her feelings. I went out to eat with some friends this afternoon. That's why I didn't get back sooner, he explained simply, offering nothing more. His attitude did not satisfy her. Her voice rose several octaves. That's it. Liam's voice was low. That's it. His casual demeanor enraged Cassandra. She shot up, her form a rigid silhouette in the darkness. Fine. Very good. This is the explanation you're giving me. Liam raised an eyebrow. Now that he knew she wasn't pregnant, he felt emboldened to dance on the landmines of her temper. What other explanation do you want to hear? In a flash, Cassandra lunged across the sofa, her hands planting on the cushions as she closed the distance between them. Good. Very good. Excellent. In the darkness, she spat out the 3 words, her tone heavy with menace. Liam could feel the wave of heat and the scent of roses as she drew near. In the past, He might have been afraid of what torture she might inflict on him. But now, in this tense standoff, he felt no fear. He was even a little curious to see what she would do. I really am insane, Liam thought. Being with Cassandra had driven him mad long ago. Before he could finish the thought, a hand shot out and clamped around his neck. The next second, it tightened, choking off his air. It was followed by Cassandra's crazed roar. "Why did you betray me?" His throat was constricted, and Liam struggled to breathe. In the past, he would have sneered at her, dared her to kill him, because that was what she owed him for all the past torment. But he wouldn't do that now. He had already admitted to Evelyn that he liked her, and Cassandra had done so much for him. The past had been canceled out. Now, they were truly equals. And if they were equals, he had to fight back against unequal treatment, which is exactly what he did. He grabbed her wrist, his expression serious as he challenged her. "Are you sure you want to strangle me?" She hadn't expected him to be so calm. His question made her hand falter. Her fingers loosened slightly. "I wasn't planning on it," she said, then abruptly released him. "Killing you would be too easy. For someone like you, who dares to deceive me, how could I let you die so simply?" If there was one thing Cassandra was good at, it was grand, dramatic gestures of love. If there was another, it was being stubborn as hell. Liam let out a small, humorless laugh. All right. So how are you planning on punishing me this time?" It felt like they were back where they started, but something was different. Cassandra snorted, folding her arms defiantly. "Your punishment is that you are forbidden from setting foot outside this estate. Starting today, you will stay here. Forever." Her tone was, as always, non-negotiable. Liam smiled. Well, after all that, you still want to keep me as your little canary. What else? It's your fault for lying to me." Cassandra was in no mood to be reasonable. But even though her words were harsh, her tone lacked its previous absolute authority. Instead, there was a hint of playfulness in it. The tension in the room instantly eased. Liam threw his hands up. "My lady, can we be reasonable here? What did I lie to you? What's there to be reasonable about? You were just lying to me." Cassandra turned her back to him, arms crossed, looking for all the world like a deeply wronged victim. Liam's mouth twitched. "Then why don't you tell me what I lied about?" Cassandra glanced over her shoulder, her eyes sizing him up. "Who are you with this afternoon?" At the mention of that, Liam's eyes flickered. He had no intention of answering her directly. He leaned back, lacing his hands behind his head. "Don't you already know?" he said frankly. As if her secret had been exposed, Cassandra's arrogant facade crumbled. She stammered, clearly flustered. What would I know? How could I possibly know? I didn't go to the university with you, and I'm not a mind reader. How could I know who you went out with?" It was obvious. Cassandra was a terrible liar. This explanation was worse than just admitting it. Liam was certain now. Cassandra had planted the bug. He sighed. Considering everything she had done for him, he figured she was probably just feeling deeply insecure. He decided to be direct, but gentle. "My lady, you don't seem to be very good at lying." The atmosphere instantly froze. Cassandra turned back to look at him, stunned. If the lights had been on, Liam would have surely seen the blush that flared across her cheeks. What are you talking about? How could I be lying?" She mumbled, her previous arrogance completely gone. Liam placed his hands on her shoulders and gently turned her to face him. He looked directly into her eyes, his own full of sincerity. "Cassandra, if you want to know something, all you have to do is ask me. If you ask, I will tell you, and I won't lie to you." He didn't expose the bug in his backpack, giving them both a way to save face. He liked her, so of course he would do his best to protect her dignity. Naturally, Cassandra wasn't a fool. The moment he said that, she knew he had discovered what she'd done. She bypassed the topic and asked directly, "Then tell me, what were you doing out with Sylvia Shaw?" By asking, she was admitting it. The bug had gone dead for a period after he met with Sylvia. She couldn't make out what was said, but she knew he had been with her. At the time, Cassandra had just assumed the device was faulty and had immediately ordered new ones. Now exposed, she finally understood. Liam had found it long ago. So, what had he said to Sylvia that he needed to hide from her? That was what she really wanted to know. That was why she was so angry. Liam answered honestly. "We talked about some things from the past, and I told her not to come looking for me anymore. I don't want anything to do with her. That's it." Cassandra raised an eyebrow, her voice rising. "Yes," Liam nodded. "That's it. All right." Cassandra nodded, her anger visibly receding. Liam was a little surprised she didn't press him further. "You're not going to ask for more details? I just want to know what you talked about with Sylvia. Now that you've told me, of course I believe you." Despite how casually she said it, if she had truly believed him, she wouldn't have put a bug in his bag in the first place. Liam once again put his hands on her shoulders, expressing his feelings to her without reservation. Cassandra, I like you. I've told you that many times. So I don't want things like this to happen again. I will give you all the security you need, so I hope you won't do this kind of thing anymore. He'd let it slide this time, but he chose to emphasize it again, hoping she would change. But of all the things he said, Cassandra's ears only caught one part. She looked at him, overjoyed. What did you just say? I said I hope you won't do this kind of thing anymore. Liam repeated patiently. Not that part. She cut him off, her face glowing with excitement. The part before that. What did you say to me in the first part? She grabbed the collar of his shirt, her heart pounding so hard it felt like it would burst from her chest. Liam understood immediately. This time, he made it even simpler, his voice laced with a smile. I said I like you. Like what? Who likes who? Say it again. As if she'd never heard such words before, Cassandra was beside herself with excitement, demanding he repeat himself over and over. Seeing her desperate need for reassurance, Liam didn't try to placate her with nonsense. He looked at her seriously and, as she requested, repeated it again. I like you. Really? You really like me? You don't blame me for how I treated you before. You forgive me? Cassandra was so nervous her tongue was tripping over her words. She had completely forgotten that Liam was still supposed to have amnesia. Her mind was a complete mess. Having come this far, Liam decided not to hide his fake amnesia any longer. He said bluntly, You've also done a lot for me. So let's just say the past is canceled out. From now on, I've decided to start liking you. Cassandra had never heard Liam answer her so earnestly. He tirelessly repeated that he liked her, and the excitement and joy completely took over her brain. Even the fact that she was supposedly pregnant was completely forgotten. She threw herself into his arms, hugging him tightly, tears streaming down her face, her voice a choked sob. Feeling the hot tears on his neck, Liam stroked her head and soothed her gently. What are you crying for? Don't you want to hear me say, I like you? Even at a time like this, he couldn't resist a little jab. But Cassandra was in no state to retort. She sniffled and mumbled, I've been waiting for this day for so long. To say he felt nothing would be a lie. Ever since the Hamiltons had kicked him out, Liam's emotions had been sealed away, his defenses always on high alert. But now, after everything he had been through with Cassandra, he had finally fallen. He couldn't pinpoint when it happened. Cassandra's appearance in his life felt like destiny. In the end, he had succumbed. Seeing Cassandra crying a river, her small face streaked with tears, Liam reached out in the dark to wipe her eyes. Okay, no more crying. It's getting late. You should get some rest. I just talked with Evelyn, and we agreed that I'll take you for a checkup this weekend. Naturally, he hadn't forgotten about that. Cassandra sniffled and mumbled, so that's what you and Evelyn were talking about. What else? Liam looked at her, amused. She was such a stubborn girl, getting jealous over something so trivial. I knew it. Cassandra sniffed, then linked her arm with his. She dangled her legs off the side of the sofa, swung them a few times, and slipped on her slippers. Liam stood up and walked with her to the bed. You rest first. I'm going to take a shower, he said, gently patting her head. Okay, I'll wait for you. Cassandra nodded and obediently snuggled under the covers. When Liam came out of the bathroom, drying his hair with a towel, he saw that the bedside lamp was on. In its dim yellow light, Cassandra was clutching the blanket, with only her eyes peeking out, staring intently at him. She didn't look like the great Miss Thorne at all. She looked like a clingy girlfriend. Liam finished drying his hair, walked to the foot of the bed, and climbed in, circling around Cassandra to sit against the headboard. The moment he settled in, she leaned over and pressed against him. I need to wait for my hair to dry before I sleep. You go ahead. I'll turn off the light later, Liam said softly. Cassandra nodded and closed her eyes, hugging his arm. Now that things had come to this, Liam wasn't too worried about Cassandra finding out the truth at the checkup in a few days. Their relationship had improved so much. Just because they didn't have a baby now didn't mean they wouldn't in the future. There was still plenty of time. The next day, Liam went to class as usual. A structured life was much better than the aimless days he had lived before. His life was now very full. Class during the day, back to the estate after school, and working out with Cassandra to improve their health. Luckily, the course load wasn't too heavy, especially at the beginning of the semester. He had almost no homework, so all his time outside of school was his own. However, now that they knew he was alive, Chloe and Leo sought him out again. After class, just as Liam was about to leave the campus, he ran into them. Brother. As soon as she saw him, Chloe waved excitedly. Beside her, Leo was beaming. Liam, over here. Liam smiled and walked toward them. They were ecstatic, practically bouncing as they started debating where to go hang out. Noticing that Haley had already pulled up in her car nearby, Liam nodded to her, then turned to his friends. Chloe, Leo, let's get in the car first. The car. Brother, you bought a car? Chloe didn't know that Liam and Cassandra were married now, and she was surprised. Before Liam could answer, the car window rolled down, revealing Haley's face. In that instant, they both understood. Haley, good afternoon. Chloe greeted her with a smile. Leo also gave Haley a friendly nod. Liam had been about to explain, but Haley beat him to it, opening the back door. Get in. You got it. Chloe chirped, pulling the door open. Liam sat in the passenger seat, glanced at Haley, then at Chloe and Leo in the back. You guys know each other? We do, Chloe said quickly. After you had your accident, Leo and I were staying at Miss Thorne's house. Haley and Evelyn took really good care of us. Beside her, Leo scratched his head, a little embarrassed. Yeah, they did. Being praised so directly, Haley felt a little shy. It was Miss Thorne's orders. After all, you're Mr. Lynn's friends and sister. I see. Liam nodded and said no more. In the back, Chloe giggled. Brother, were we going to have fun? Hearing this, Haley didn't start the car immediately. She turned her head and asked curiously, Mr. Lynn, are you all going out? Yeah, Liam nodded, knowing what she was getting at. He said frankly, we'll go back and pick up Cassandra, then we can all go out together. We're going with Miss Thorne? Leo blurted out, then yelped as a sharp pain shot through his arm. Ow, he hissed, turning to Chloe and whispering, Chloe, what did you pinch me for? Idiot. Chloe smacked his arm lightly and leaned in close. Leo, can't you see? Haley is here. Brother and Miss Thorne are obviously together now. Leo's eyes widened as the realization slowly dawned on him. Seeing that Haley had started the car and was chatting happily with Liam in the passenger seat, he scratched the back of his head. Dude, what did we miss? When did those two get together? How should I know? But I think brother has finally accepted Miss Thorne. That's a good thing. Miss Thorne isn't a bad person, Chloe whispered back. In the passenger seat, Liam occasionally glanced in the rearview mirror, watching Chloe and Leo whispering together. He raised an eyebrow. He had been so focused on himself that he hadn't noticed when these two had gotten so close. Once he took his eyes off himself, Liam felt like his whole world had expanded. Just like now, he was suddenly noticing how many relationships around him were changing. He had never imagined these two would end up together. He had only hired Leo because he didn't have any friends and desperately needed someone he could trust to protect Chloe. He never expected that in the process of protecting her, his own house would get stolen, so to speak. Seeing them whispering together, Liam awkwardly touched his face. Then he looked at Haley, who was pretending to focus on driving, but whose eyes were darting everywhere, soaking up the gossip. Liam's mouth twitched. He couldn't help but think that the atmosphere in this little car was surprisingly harmonious. But no matter what, Chloe was his sister, and while Leo was the brother he trusted most, he could be a bit dense. It was time for a little chat. As Liam was mulling this over, the car arrived at the estate. He had called Cassandra beforehand, so when the car stopped at the villa, she was already waiting by the door. Seeing Cassandra again, Chloe and Leo no longer felt the fear they once had. They greeted her naturally. With their relationship on better terms, Cassandra even offered a faint smile in return. So, where are we going? She asked, walking up and linking her arm through Liam's as he got out of the car. Whoa, you were right. Leo's eyes went wide as he leaned down to whisper in Chloe's ear. Of course, even though I haven't spent much time with brother, I can sometimes guess what he's thinking. Chloe replied with a smile. She was about to say more when Liam turned around. Chloe, Leo, is there anywhere you guys want to go? The two of them paused. Leo scratched his head awkwardly. I'm good with whatever Liam says. Chloe echoed him. Anywhere is fine, as long as I'm with my brother. It was a perfectly normal response, but Liam distinctly felt the arm Cassandra had linked with his Titan. Great, he thought. She's jealous again. Meeting Cassandra's sour gaze, Liam sighed and leaned in close to her ear. Cassandra, hold on. I'll explain in the car. Oof. Cassandra snorted, but the jealousy seemed to subside. Liam thought for a moment and made a suggestion. The weather's nice today. Why don't we go camping? It's autumn now. The weather is cool. Perfect for outdoor camping. That's a great idea. Leo and I have been here for a while, but we haven't gone out to explore at all. Chloe became instantly excited. Leo rubbed his stomach and nodded. Yeah, I'm actually getting hungry. Of course, Cassandra wouldn't refuse. As long as it was with Liam, she would go anywhere. Before she could even respond, a whirlwind of a voice came from inside the villa. Sis, Liam, I want to go camping too. You can't leave me behind. I'm going crazy in here. Everyone turned to see Riley stumbling out of the main hall. She was running and shouting at the same time, a blur of motion. Behind her, Evelyn was desperately trying to keep up in high heels, the clack-clack-clack of her shoes nearly causing her to trip several times. Only Riley could create such a scene of chaotic comedy. Liam couldn't help but chuckle. Cassandra was also in a good mood. She folded her arms and watched her rabbit-like sister, her tone dripping with merciless sarcasm. You really can't stay quiet for a single day, can you? Who says? I've been cooped up in here for half a month. Evelyn won't even let me out the door. If I don't get out soon, I'm going to start growing cobwebs. Riley stood with her hands on her hips, her face a mask of indignation. It was a rare moment, everyone together, and it was a harmonious one. The afternoon sun cast a warm glow over them, making the scene exceptionally peaceful. Liam suddenly felt that it wouldn't be so bad if time could just stop in this moment. He looked down at Cassandra, asking for her opinion. Cassandra, should we take Riley? Given her good mood, Cassandra naturally didn't mind. She snorted and gave an order to Evelyn. Evelyn, go prepare everything. Arrange for another car. Yes, miss. Evelyn nodded and immediately began directing the servants. Having received permission to go out, Riley rushed over excitedly. She hooked one arm through Liam's and the other through Cassandra's, shouting like a jester, I want to ride in the same car as you guys. Seeing Riley being so forward, Chloe couldn't stand it. She rushed forward and grabbed Liam's other arm. I want to ride with my brother too. What are you doing? I haven't seen Liam in forever. Why are you trying to steal him? Riley was not pleased. She leaned around Liam and glared at Chloe. Chloe was not one to back down. Well, I haven't seen my brother in a long time either. I'm his real sister. What's wrong with me riding with my brother and my sister-in-law? Well, I'm my sister's real sister. I'm going to ride with my sister and my brother-in-law. Riley was getting angry too. She hadn't been out in days. She knew Liam had been back for a while, but Evelyn kept her locked up. Now that she finally had a chance to get out, she wasn't going to miss it. Left and right, the beautiful atmosphere instantly became tense. But when it came to riding in the same car as Liam, who could possibly compete with Cassandra? Cassandra, who had been about to scold the two of them, heard the distinct words sister-in-law and brother-in-law, and her anger completely evaporated. Liam was caught between laughter and tears. Two live wires, one on each side. No matter who he favored, he'd feel bad. Looking at Cassandra, she wasn't angry at all. In fact, she was watching the scene with great interest. Liam said awkwardly, how about you three girls take one car, and Leo and... No, brother, I don't want... You dare. Three voices erupted at the same time, not even giving him a chance to finish. Leo nervously shuffled backward, giving Liam a look that said, You're on your own, buddy. Seeing that Evelyn and the servants had already prepared the cars and loaded everything, while they still hadn't figured out the seating arrangement, Liam felt helpless. All right, 3 cars, Liam compromised. I'll be with Cassandra. Chloe, you're with Leo. Riley, you get your own car. Is that okay? Everyone else was in pairs, leaving Riley to go it alone. She was about to protest and throw a tantrum, but was silenced by a sharp command from Cassandra. Do as Liam says. Get in the car. If it didn't leave soon, it would be dark. Seeing this, Riley didn't dare say another word. She shot a resentful glare at Chloe and got into the last car. Leo and Chloe got into their car as well. 3 luxury sedans, along with a large SUV for the staff, set off for the Briarwood Ranch. As one of the premier camping destinations in the region, the Briarwood Ranch was most famous for its vineyards. It was usually packed with families on weekends, but since it was a Thursday, there weren't many people. They got out of the cars on a small hill overlooking a stream. On the way, Liam had been planning how they would pitch the tents and set up the grill. But when he got out and saw 4 or 5 servants jump out of the SUV, he fell silent. So, what are we supposed to do? Liam asked, bored, as he watched the servants begin to set up the campsite. Cassandra didn't answer. She got out of the car and gave an order to the servants. You guys set up the chairs first. A high-class camping trip was all about pure enjoyment. It really is good to be rich, Liam thought. With the servants busy, Liam, having nothing to do, started admiring the scenery. Chloe and Leo got out of their car, followed by Riley, and the whole group was assembled. Bypassing Leo, Chloe ran straight to Liam and Cassandra. As she passed Liam, she gave him a playful wink, then turned to Cassandra. Sister-in-law, should we go over there and buy some wine? Cassandra, who would normally be too lazy for such things, was overjoyed at being called sister-in-law. She gave a rare response. Just have a servants buy it. Tell them which kind you want. Her attitude was a complete 180. Cassandra's smiling face stunned Liam. Riley, however, got out of her car with a look of disdain, muttering to herself, sucking up to my sister. You've got some nerve. Having the servants do it is so boring. Since we're already out, we should explore more. Chloe hooked her arm through Cassandra's, her voice sweet. Sister-in-law, let's go together. The repeated sister-in-laws nearly sent Cassandra into a daze. She glanced flirtatiously at Liam, then gave a rare agreement. All right, Liam, I'm going for a walk in the vineyard with your sister. You watch them here. Okay, be safe, Liam said with a smile, watching them walk away. The scene looked just like two parents taking a bunch of kids out to play. As Chloe and Cassandra disappeared, Riley stomped over, her small fists clenched. Liam, come over here for a second. I have something to tell you. Huh? Before Liam could react, Riley grabbed his arm. He stumbled and was forced to follow her behind a large tree. What's wrong? Liam asked, confused once they were hidden. It's, Liam, I need to sneak out for a bit later. Can you cover for me with my sister? Riley rubbed her hands together, clasping them in front of her as she looked at him pleadingly. Liam was surprised. If you want to go out, just go. Why do you need to sneak? Riley pouted. My sister won't let me wander off. Liam, we don't understand. I've been in the UK for days, and I haven't even left the house. I've been stuck on the second floor. A few days ago, Evelyn wouldn't even let me leave my room. She grumbled on, her face scrunched up in a pained expression that made Liam frown. She wouldn't even let you out of your room? I was wondering why I hadn't seen you. Liam finally realized. He had been surprised to see Riley earlier. He knew Evelyn and Haley were at the estate, but he hadn't realized Riley had been there all along. But why won't they let you out? Liam looked at Riley. You're an adult, aren't you? It's because of you, Riley said resentfully. Evelyn said my sister hadn't seen you in a long time and didn't want to bother you. She also said I have a big mouth and might say the wrong thing. Liam had suspected as much. Being abroad wasn't like being at home. It wasn't safe everywhere. Riley was naive, and so was Chloe. If Leo wasn't around, he wouldn't feel at ease either. Liam didn't want to take that risk. Just tell your sister yourself. You could take a few bodyguards. You're already out now. Your sister definitely won't stop you. No way. Riley shook her head violently, like a bobblehead doll. I have something urgent to do this time. Liam, please just help me. You're the only one who can talk to my sister right now. As long as you chat with her a bit, she definitely won't pay any attention to me. She lunged forward, grabbing Liam's arm and shaking it back and forth. Faced with this kind of behavior, Liam found it hard to refuse. But safety was paramount. Liam's expression turned serious. I can help you, but you have to tell me clearly where you're going and what you're doing. She hadn't expected him to be so thorough. Riley's face flushed, and she fiddled with the hem of her clothes, mumbling, You don't need to know that. If you don't tell me, I won't help you. What if something happens to you? How am I supposed to explain it to your sister? After a moment of internal conflict, Riley took a deep breath and looked at him. If I tell you, you have to promise not to tell my sister. Liam smiled. Fine, no problem. My lips are sealed. But the smile hadn't even faded from his face before Riley's next words made him freeze. I'm going to meet someone I met online. As if she'd been holding it in for ages, the words burst out of her, making Liam jump. When he recovered, he couldn't help but laugh. He reached out and touched her forehead. Miss Riley, you don't have a fever. At your age, you're already meeting people from the internet. Don't you worry about it. Riley slapped his hand away indignantly. Anyway, I've already made plans with my friend. I'm going to find him now. Liam smacked his lips, a knowing smile on his face. So determined. An online boyfriend. In a flash, Riley's face turned bright red. She mumbled, No, we just met here. We met playing video games. Seeing her shy but stubborn expression, Liam understood. But they were adults, and he had seen this kind of thing before. Many people get scammed in online relationships, and doing it abroad was just asking for trouble. His face hardened. Then you message him right now and tell him to come here. We're camping today anyway. One more person doesn't matter. Don't worry about your sister. I'll handle it. Having the other person come to them. That was a favor Liam was willing to help with. Although Riley was reluctant, after a moment's thought, she knew Liam was just worried about her. She stopped being stubborn and took out her phone. Fine, I'll tell him to come here now. The place I was going to meet him isn't far from here anyway. That's more like it. Liam nodded, said no more, and walked back towards the hill. The servants were a flurry of activity. In a short time, he'd been talking with Riley. The tents, grill, lounge chairs, and everything else were nearly ready. Leo was sitting in a chair, sorting ingredients. Seeing Liam approach, he grinned. Liam, come on. Look, what should we grill first? Whatever. The chicken wings need to go on early. You can get those ready now. Liam walked over and sat down across from Leo. A moment later, Chloe returned with Cassandra, carrying 2 bottles of wine. Chloe jogged over to Leo, her excitement palpable. Leo, you won't believe it. This bottle of wine costs over $80,000, and my sister-in-law didn't even blink when she paid for it. Whoa! Leo sucked in a breath of air. He held out both hands to take the bottle, examining it carefully. When he saw the Grand Cru label, his eyes lit up. No way, a Musigny Grand Cru. This is one of the top 10 brands in the world, he exclaimed, wiping his mouth. What did I ever do to deserve this? I can't believe I get to drink something like this in my lifetime. The vineyard over there has tons of fresh grapes you can pick. It's autumn, so they're perfect right now. My sister-in-law said we can all go pick some later, Chloe chattered on, recounting her recent adventure to Leo. Liam stood up and walked over to Cassandra. Tired? Want something to drink? Just water is fine. I didn't buy much wine. If we need more, I'll have the servants get it, Cassandra replied with a smile, her eyes scanning the area. When she didn't see Riley, her face hardened. Where's Riley? In the car. She said she'll come down when the food is ready. A friend of hers is coming over, Liam said vaguely. A friend? Cassandra raised an eyebrow, looking at him in surprise. Where would she have friends here? Met online, probably, Liam replied. Seeing Cassandra's expression change, he quickly took her wrist. Don't get angry yet. Let me tell you something. He soothed her, then leaned in close to her ear, pointing at the chatting Chloe and Leo. Look over there, he whispered. Following his finger, Cassandra looked confused. What about them? Haven't you noticed Chloe and Leo's relationship has improved a lot? I just noticed them myself. Maybe the two of them. Liam didn't finish his sentence, but the meaning was clear. It dawned on Cassandra, and she gasped. You mean they're dating? Keep your voice down. Her sudden outburst nearly gave Liam a heart attack. Cassandra quickly covered her mouth and nodded at Liam knowingly. Seeing that the others hadn't seemed to hear, Liam smiled. See, Chloe and Leo, you and me, we're two pairs. That leaves Riley as the odd one out. Of course she'd want to invite a friend over. Other words might not have landed, but the phrase you and me made Cassandra's cheeks flush red. She crossed her arms and huffed. What, you and me? It's not like that. Her face red, she sat down on a lounge chair facing the stream, deliberately turning away from him. Seeing her cute, pouty expression, Liam found it endearing. So he shamelessly scooted closer, pulling their lounge chairs together until they were nearly touching, and sat down beside her. Out of the corner of her eye, Cassandra saw his movement. Though she maintained her proud posture, her eyes were filled with satisfaction. She pouted, deliberately taunting him. Who said you could sit so close? Move away from me. Liam knew she meant the opposite. This was not the time to argue. He moved even closer, until the two chairs were touching. No, I'm sitting right next to you, he said stubbornly, and plopped down beside her without hesitation. Though Cassandra maintained a cold, arrogant expression, seeing Liam's insistence on being close to her made the corners of her mouth curl up in a smile. Liam leaned in and whispered, Chloe and Leo don't seem to figure things out yet. Shouldn't we set an example for them? Cassandra frowned slightly. She glanced at Liam, then back at the others. Leo, let me do this. I used to cook a lot at home. I know how to skewer chicken legs. Then what should I do? I can't let you do everything and just get a free meal. You could get the charcoal hot. Once I've skewered these and brushed on the sauce, we can grill them right away. Got it. This scene of polite cooperation made Cassandra frown. Are you sure they're together? She asked Liam, puzzled. Not sure, but I think they have a chance. Cassandra propped her head on her hand, her eyes flashing as she pointed between the two pairs. So, what kind of example are you and I supposed to set? What should we do? Before she could finish, she saw Liam lean in close. A soft smack. Her words were cut off in her throat. Her eyes widened in disbelief. Just like that, Liam said, licking his lips with a satisfied smile. Cassandra subconsciously touched her lips. The warmth was still there. In the quiet, she could hear the violent thumping of her own heart. She licked her lips, her shocked expression turning greedy, her gaze on Liam now fiery. Not enough. Again, Liam, who had rarely been the one to initiate, froze. Giving him no chance to be stunned, Cassandra leaned forward, hooked her arm around his neck, and tilted her face up. Another kiss. This one lasted a long time, long enough to make Liam's heart tremble. Wait, I was just kidding. Why is she so serious? We're outside. Sis, brother-in-law, you guys. Riley, who had come running down from the car to tell Liam her friend had arrived, ran right into the heated scene. She froze. Startled by her shout, Chloe and Leo also turned to look, seeing the intensely intimate scene. Both of them were clearly a bit embarrassed. Seeing that Cassandra still wasn't letting go, Liam used a bit of force, his voice strained. My lady, we're still outside. So what? If they want to watch, let them watch. Cassandra glanced over coolly, her meaning unmistakable. Riley gave an awkward laugh. Chloe covered her eyes, but deliberately left a gap between her fingers. It's fine, you guys carry on. If you need, we can all form a circle and block you. Cassandra's lips curved into a slight smile. She was clearly very pleased with Chloe. She looked at Liam triumphantly, her eyes seeming to say, See? Even your sister doesn't have a problem with it. Liam felt his scalp tingle. The relationships between women were truly bizarre. Just a moment ago, Cassandra had been jealous. Then, after a short walk with Chloe, her attitude had done a complete 180. He didn't get it. He quickly averted his gaze, landing on Riley, and changed the subject. Riley, is your friend here? Riley snapped out of her daze, her cheeks flushing slightly as she glanced timidly at Cassandra. He said he's at the entrance to the ranch. He asked me to go get him. Cassandra's smile vanished, her cold gaze sweeping over Riley. I'll go with you, Liam offered, standing up. He patted Cassandra's shoulder, giving her a reassuring look. Cassandra didn't say anything more. She just tilted her head slightly, her gaze shifting to the stream. Liam and Riley walked together towards the ranch entrance. Their campsite wasn't far, about a 10-minute walk. Soon, Liam saw a man in a white suit standing at the main gate. He had the look of a rich family's son. Riley grabbed Liam's arm and whispered, "That's him." He said his name is Ethan. We met playing video games. Ethan? Liam silently repeated the name. An interesting choice. As they approached, Ethan's eyes lit up when he saw Riley, but his brow furrowed when he noticed her arm linked tightly with Liam's. However, he didn't embarrass her. Instead, he gave her a polite nod and introduced himself. You must be Miss Riley? Hello, I'm Ethan. Hello, Riley replied, her cheeks rosy. She squeezed Liam's arm even tighter. That squeeze made Liam's jaw ache. Was this really an online romance? How could this girl be so shy? Still, she was Cassandra's sister, which made her his sister now too. He had to vet this guy. He glanced around and said casually, Mr. Ethan, did you take a taxi? There was no way Ethan could miss the implication. Already feeling hostile towards Liam, he replied irritably, Of course I drove. Oh, Liam nodded with a smile, then completely ignored Ethan and turned to Riley. Let's go, Riley. Your sister will be waiting. Riley nodded, her head down. She clutched Liam's sleeve and whispered, Mr. Ethan, let's go over there and talk. Watching this, Ethan suddenly felt like the third wheel. What was worse, the man with Riley was completely ignoring him, his blatant disrespect getting under his skin. But he was already here, and Riley looked exactly like she did in her photos. Ethan swallowed his anger. The three of them walked back to the campsite together. As soon as he arrived, Ethan saw the beautiful woman lounging on a chair by the stream. The setting sun cast a golden glow on her long, straight black hair. Even though he could only see her in profile, Ethan's heart skipped a beat. Cassandra stretched languidly, then looked over with a cold expression, her eyes landing on Liam. She raised a hand and said something that stunned everyone. Carry me. Liam sighed. Riley had already let go of his arm. He walked quickly to Cassandra, his face full of doting affection. Why do you need to be carried again? Does your back hurt? Cassandra shook her head, her hands automatically wrapping around the back of his neck. Liam pulled her up, sweeping her into his arms. You don't even want to walk a few steps, do you, my little lazy cat? Liam teased with a laugh. Cassandra didn't respond. She just rested her cheek against his chest and closed her eyes. From beginning to end, she didn't spare Ethan a single glance. By the nearby tent, Chloe and Leo were grilling skewers with knowing smiles, a mix of envy and familiarity. Ethan was completely shocked. What kind of relationship was this? The guy had just been holding Riley's hand, and now he was holding another woman? And the key point was, everyone else acted like this was completely normal. They were all busy with their own things, not even a whisper of discussion among them. Ethan couldn't help but give Liam a mental thumbs up, juggling two women so openly and so steadily. Riley, Ethan called out softly, his eyes fixed on Liam and Cassandra, his words hesitant. That guy, what's his relationship to you? He had to ask. In their online chats, Riley had never mentioned her family. If it was what he was thinking, he might be the only normal person here. You mean Liam? Riley replied automatically. The next second, she realized and winked playfully. What? Are you jealous? Ethan scratched his head awkwardly, at a loss for words. Riley understood instantly. Relax, he's my brother-in-law, she teased. Ethan was slow to process. In his confusion, he blurted out, Your brother-in-law? Are you guys into that kind of thing? Riley jumped up and whacked him on the head. What are you talking about? That's my sister, Cassandra Thorne. Liam is my brother-in-law. Sister, brother-in-law. Ethan finally understood. Oh, I get it. Sorry, my brain wasn't working right. I was probably just nervous about meeting you and couldn't think straight. Riley scoffed, looking at Cassandra and Liam with envy. My sister and my brother-in-law are super close. They're stuck together all day. Ethan scratched his head, his gaze falling on Liam, who was massaging Cassandra's back. They looked exactly like a long-married couple. I can see that. He retracted his gaze, embarrassed. I came in a hurry today, so I didn't bring you a gift. Pick something you like later, and I'll pay for it. Consider it my welcome gift to you. You don't have to. I don't need anything. Riley shook her head, a blush creeping up her cheeks again. At the tent, Cassandra was lying on a blanket, her eyes half closed as she watched Ethan and Riley. He's Riley's online friend. Liam replied, focusing on massaging her back. A second later, Cassandra snorted. Looks like it's time for me to schedule an eye exam for Riley.